All right, we are live. Ladies and gentlemen and ladies, welcome to another edition of Smash Time's Lead Therapy. I feel like it's an official show now. I feel like I'm growing up. I'm getting bigger. Let's look at the chat. We got Mr. Mike McClune, Fluffy, Randy Adams, Jesus. Something about the name Jesus. I like that. I'm in the chat. How about that? Let's see. Anybody else? Shooting Gallery, New England. My man. Your thumbnails are looking superb, my man. Really stepping up your game. And then Texan 65. All right. So I met this gentleman at SHOT Show just a few weeks ago. And I didn't know his content. And I actually watched some of his videos before. But I wasn't a subscriber. I didn't really know a lot of his content. I don't watch a whole lot of other YouTubers. I should, but I don't. But I met him, and then I did a deep dive on his content, and I downloaded a bunch of his videos on the airplane home, and he has really solid stuff. And I thought he would blow me off and say, no, I can't go on your channel. You got to grow up a little bit. And so I asked him, hey, you want to come on the live? And he said, yeah, you know what? Absolutely. So without further ado, the one and only VSO Gun Channel.
With a really, really shitty webcam. Just throwing that out there. I haven't updated it for like 5 years or something like that. So I wanted to hop in what you just said right there. And you said that you were concerned that I was going to blow you off. And I have a policy that is like, if you've been, I won't be your first interview, right? But
Right.
if somebody's doing a podcast and they're trying to do something or they're trying to do a show, put something together, as long as you're not out there like kicking babies and like doing like pseudo anti-Second Amendment stuff, I'm going to come on your show.
Well, I haven't done that in weeks.
Yeah. I mean, hey, whatever. What was the quote the other day from our esteemed leader? Something about like that was a couple days ago or something like that, or like that was last week. And that he is, yeah. So if somebody invites me on their show, then I'm very into building the Second Amendment community. I'm from an age of YouTube where it was all cat videos and shit. So the only way anybody got there was no algorithm, there was no pushing stuff around, there were no machine learnings or anything like that going on. The only way your stuff got passed around is if somebody found it and liked it and showed it to somebody. And so the collaborative nature of YouTube 10, 15 years ago was it. And that's the same sentiment that I use today whenever somebody tries to invite me on a show.
Dude, that's awesome. I feel that is missing these days.
No, it really is.
I mean, in like 2%, we are competitors. Like 2% out of 100.
I don't consider anybody. Let me cut you off. I don't consider anybody who does what I do a competitor, and let me explain why. There are two types of, and this was a very, very early discussion because there were lots of, and I'm going to throw some people under the bus real quick.
This is getting good. Everyone pushed a thumbs up.
Yeah. So when I started going to industry events, it was very print centric. How many? Raise your hand in the chat if you purchased a firearms magazine, like not like the one that goes in the gun that holds the bullets, the one that's made of paper, right?
Not when was 10 years.
Yeah, right. So when we showed up, guys like me that were doing video and stuff like that, the established media outlets that were doing all print all the time, the industry was 10 years behind on all this sort of stuff. So they were many of them were very militant to our presence. And I put it like this, because I grew up in that age, all the video guys were my friends. We were on the same team because even though we did the same thing, the amount of money in the firearms industry and the amount of stuff to do, the amount of innovation that happens on a regular basis, there is no way that one person can gobble it all up. So I liken it to, I'm a fat kid. So I liken it to pie. There's two types of people. Everybody knows that there's pie, but there are the people that will sit there and hold your face out of the pie because they want to be able to hold you up with one hand and then scoop some while they're keeping you out of it. But they're so preoccupied doing it that they don't realize that there is literally baking sheets on every flat surface in the convention center filled with so much pie. There's no way that you can freaking eat it all. So
Exactly.
while people say competitor, I don't think so. I think we're just friends that work in the same space.
You know
I
what?
do not use the term competitor for guys like you, ever.
Please go somewhere with that sentence. Oh, yeah, thank you.
No, like guys
Guys
like
like
us,
you. No,
guys like us,
I
guys like us.
absolutely believe that too. And so anytime I meet anybody that's 2A, starting a 2A channel, I encourage everybody. And if I learn something, I'll pass it on to everybody I know, because learning as a group is way better than learning on your own. And if, like Steve, Mr. Big Kid, or even Shooting Gal in New England in the chat, my buddy Joe, if I can learn something and I'll pass it on, and I'm kind of brutally honest. If someone asks my opinion, like I met a YouTuber probably 6 weeks ago, and he goes, "Hey man, you check out my channel." And he had like 5 videos, and I'm looking. I was like, "Hey, your content's not so bad, but your thumbnails are trash." He goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "You got all this writing all over it. If someone's on their phone and they're scrolling, and they can't even see the gun through all your jib jab writing, no one's gonna stop. No one's gonna click it. No one's gonna read 4 paragraphs to get to your picture to see what you're doing." I might have said it a
And
little harsh, but
minimal text. If you see
yeah.
me put text in something,
Well, you did have a yellow. You were doing the VSO logo on the side, and then you were doing yellow for about a year, but it
yeah.
was very tasteful. It wasn't overdone.
Well, so it used to be that. Hang on a second. Sorry. I turned my ringer off. um, she's very attractive. Let me put it that way.
Oh man, absolutely excused.
um, so the thing is, there was a time period where and I test everything. So I beta I A/B test every thumbnail that goes out there. And when it comes to thumbnails, there was a period of time where the algorithm was not really penalizing you for that, putting like logos and stuff on there. And some guys do it really well. Like I bet you if I type in tactical toolbox,
Oh yeah, he has good stuff.
I bet you all of his thumbnails, even to this day, still. Oh, that's his website. I don't want that. If I go over to his YouTube page, he has a logo in the corner of his stuff right now. Yes, he does. But it's very overt. And he switches sides too. So there's a way to do it. But I came to the point where I was seeing myself basically trying to move things around on the image that were detracting from the image. And my logo is relatively transparent and it has a lot of empty space in it.
Right.
So doing that doesn't work for my particular logo. So I know that we're getting like really in the weeds on this, but the bottom line that I think is applicable here is, like, if a guy comes to me and says, "Hey man," or gal comes to me and says, "Hey man, help me advance." I've given presentations to industry people on this.
Right, and that's outstanding, because if you think, okay, see, let's take who's the biggest guy in the game right now, in your opinion? Probably Matt.
Depends on how you define that.
Just
How what are
viewers.
your metric? Oh, viewers.
Probably Matt. Matt's up
Probably
there.
Matt. Probably Matt.
So if
Yeah.
Matt took a bunch of 15K subscribed YouTubers and did one video with like 4 or 5 new guys that he thought had potential, those guys would skyrocket up to 100K, probably within a
Probably
few.
pretty quick.
Pretty
It would
quick.
help them. It would help them quite a bit.
Oh,
Now,
it'd be huge.
the problem with that is, I think there's also, and this is going to sound really like stick in the mud ish, but you see some guys that gain rapid success and they don't know what to do with it. I think there's a sweet spot in gaining success
Right.
that teaches you the value of the work. So you have some people that show up, and they are so heavy on the numbers that they're like, I've done this and I've done that. I'm like, yeah, you're cool. Like, I'm glad that you're having a success, but all they have people who haven't reached their burnout yet, their first burnout yet.
I've done it.
Yeah, you know exactly what I'm talking about.
I'm on my second one.
Yeah, I'm on my fifth right now, right? uh, I usually get burned out about every year about February when it's really nasty outside. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Everyone in the
guys,
chat, please hit the thumbs up, and I'm posting a link to Curtis's channel.
thank you.
Please like and subscribe to his channel. I know he'd greatly appreciate it. If you're not a subscriber of mine, please subscribe to mine.
Fair warning. I will, if you're new to me, I will piss you off eventually. It may not be today, but eventually I'll piss you off. Just give me a second chance.
Well, I don't want to say pissed off, but we'll get to the whole Springfield thing later on. That's
okay. Yeah.
We'll get to that later.
We can talk about that specific thing anytime you want. I'm an open book. I'm an open book straight through. From business to the only time that I really hold stuff back is when I've got confidential information that was given to me in confidence. Other than that, if you want to know something, I will tell it to you straight up.
That's exactly how I feel. One, and I only do this because I'm in sales and I have a horrible memory. If I lie to you, I'm going to forget and I'm going to get caught. So just like with my wife, just like in life, with my kids, within sales, I'm always 100% truthful because that never changes, and I'll forget a lie. So
always it's easier just to tell the truth because
it is. Hurt a little bit of feelings now. And then eventually they won't ask you, how does this dress make me look? Well, don't ask me. You want me to tell you?
I'm divorced twice. Don't.
All right.
It's not doing this. Clearly, that's one area that I maybe am perhaps a little bit too transparent on. What can I say?
What are you thinking? Do you know? Don't ask that question. As long as it doesn't involve as long as it doesn't involve like midgets, we're okay. No, but so
speaking of that, like a lot of the time, the SHOT Show corresponds with the porn awards, and dude, you want to find some freaky shit, walk over during the show on your free time over to the AVN awards. And man, the only thing that I can describe that is that the first year that I went to SHOT Show, the AVNs corresponded, and there were literally midgets walking around in stormtrooper outfits.
Oh my God.
Yes.
I'm immediately going to Google that and see if I can there's got to be pictures.
There's got to be pictures. But you got to remember, like did the smartphone exist yet? I don't think I had a smartphone yet.
All right, my man Andrew in the comments says, I agree with the learning process. It's tough to come up with new content sometimes, but as you grow, you take suggestions from the chat, comment section that turns into content. That is very true. Andrew has a channel in Florida. He's based out of Florida. Really solid.
I have a lot of friends in Florida, so get on that collaboration thing. Look around for channels that are located in Florida and do some good shit together because you guys can grow your audiences together.
100%.
I have several very good friends from Florida that have
man, look at that. I get to talk about my setup. I love talking about my setup because I just changed it. So Signs of Time is asking, what is my setup? I had one of these Sony cameras and I smashed the whole back screen, and I already had a bunch of batteries and stuff. So I bought another one, and now the old one is my webcam permanently. So it's a Sony A6400.
Is an HDMI out? Is that how you're doing it?
HDMI out, and then I have one of those fake battery deals in there, but I like it. And then I have I have like accent lights, and then honestly, your equipment doesn't matter with lives, and if you have decent lighting, you can make any 1080p camera look like 4K if you have the lighting just right.
Yeah, that's true. Like the reason mine looks really is because this particular room was never built for this sort of thing. I thought I was going to be able to film in a different room, but it's like a giant, because it's also the vault. It's my
A mess.
studio it's a cement block. So it doesn't do that, right? So the light in this room is right there. So I'm backlit and top lit, which looks like shit.
Oh
And
man.
if you'd asked Curtis of 10 years ago, he'd looked at you sideways because he had no idea what that means. But I have since learned a lot about photography.
It's a learning process. I buy a bunch of these little lights here for the front, and then I have two small lights up above. But man, it is a process. I mean, editing YouTube in general is a process. Getting your lighting just right is a process.
And a lot of people don't realize that it sometimes is painful. So when I do my commentary sections in the vault room, I've got two huge lights that are like blasting me in the face. Like I'm half blind half the time.
Super
So
hot.
it's super hot. And then I've had people from sometimes be like, oh, he's doing videos drunk again because I like drop something. It's like, no, I literally have like 1,000 lumens being blasted in my face, right? Like
Yeah.
I can't see across the room. But I digress. So
All
um,
right. So if anybody in the chat has questions for VSO, what does VSO stand for?
very shitty operators.
No, it doesn't.
Yes, it does. We had shirts for a while.
No way.
It did. Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Yep.
Very shitty operator gun channel.
So here's the thing. Here's the thing. So we used to do like a bunch of like the thing when we started YouTube was to you got to remember the setting, right? Like it was very heavy Obama, very heavy authoritarian type thing. So the big thing to do was to go out and flex, right?
Hmm.
Get all
Yeah.
your shit on. And we don't do that stuff anymore. It was a different time in the gun world 10, 15 years ago,
Right.
as opposed to um, what it is today. So um, we literally went after it, being like, hey, we go out and shoot a lot, but we're at the time, at the very beginning, very few of us had any real training. And since then, I've done a lot of training. So I've
No,
had,
you look very professional. Your first couple videos, man, you're out there all geared out. Very
yeah,
professional.
yeah. But then,
With
like,
the handy cams, with the little
there are
handy
certain
cams.
tells. There are certain tells. Like if you see a dude wearing a chest rig, one, that's a dated piece of equipment. Okay, like a chest rig, not a plate carrier. A chest rig is a dated piece of equipment. We don't use those anymore because the way that was all figured out was figured out in the first several years of Iraq and Afghanistan. You
Right.
had dudes that were putting extra ammo on top of their equipment, and that's kind of what everybody was mimicking at the time. And you'd see the dudes that had like the midsection that's full of like 20 fucking magazines, because those were the images that were being sent back to us. The difference is those dudes were walking off the tape with all the extra gear, and they were literally throwing it on top of their stuff because
Yeah.
it wasn't compatible.
That was my brother in Iraq. He always, every time he was over there, he goes, I'm not leaving with less than 20 mags.
And they do it, and then they can just take it off. And then it transitioned to the like the shingle of 3 or shingle of 4 or the shingle of 6 or shingle of 8. So you either had the single or the double, and then you just had a fucking backpack. No, I'm serious. This is my friends that actually did cool shit. That's that's what they did. Some of my
Yeah.
friends that were actual door kickers, they wear a shingle of 3, and then they literally have a backpack that was just full of magazines.
Oh man.
Because
Yeah.
that's what they didn't. You got to remember, the whole mantra of mil spec kind of carries through to the lowest bidder, and these guys had to figure it out themselves, man. Go back and watch a really good example of this. Go back and watch the video of like Travis on the rooftop in the Joff.
Oh yeah, I've seen that a bunch. It's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. Watch him work, right? And all it's just shit that's bolted together because it was the Wild West. It's
Yeah.
whatever they could get, whenever they could use, man. So those guys are bringing that sort of stuff home, and since then they've created their own stuff to advance the industry. Be like, hey, this is crap that I had to deal with, and we need to stop doing this stuff this way. So that whole experience has advanced what we all now know in a way that, we all kind of got in, like the guys that got into the firearms scene around that time were kind of learning off of these guys that were coming in from their military service.
Yeah, I remember the first time I tried to play dress up. Um, I had a magazine here, and then I tried to jump prone, and it hurt quite a bit.
There is a certain amount of athleticism that is required to do that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's back when I was like a fitness fan. I used to be a fitness junkie about 100 pounds ago. Then I moved to Texas and got fat. But I was a fitness fanatic. Like I saw you had your 225 test. What was that all about?
What do you mean?
You had your you had a couple videos on your channel about benching 225.
Um,
I went
I
way
don't.
back. That's like
Oh,
9 years ago.
I don't remember what we were. I think there might have been something on a variation of it, because I went to a weightlifting class some years ago because I was having some problems, because my knees were prohibitively painful. I have like a congenital defect, just to be completely transparent. Like from my knee down, everything's wrong. Okay, like I got bones that grow into bones, and like it's never been good. I have metatarsus abductus on top of it, so my feet are twisted. Like it's never been good.
Mhm.
And because of that, the way that I have like learned to distribute impact has been to my knees, and it's not been good. So I attended a class that was not weightlifting, and they were spooling up a an add-on, and they're like, hey, we're gonna have a course where we're gonna invite these weightlifting instructors in to teach proper form on stuff, because we think that that's one thing that our industry is lacking a lot. I'm like, I'm in for that. And they showed me the techniques that they were going to be teaching in the class on the squat, and in 15 minutes I was squatting with no knee pain. And
Oh,
now, and at the time I had not squatted in years because I just assumed that it was bad for my knees, because that's what everybody said, it was bad for your knees. Now if I don't squat 3 to 5 times a week, then I'm in pain. So what it is the idea is to strengthen the muscles around the joint so that it is tight and not doing a whole bunch of wobbling around, grinding crap. And
yeah.
it's worked miracles for me.
Well, that's
So
great too because also when you damage your muscle tissues, you take it swells up a little bit of water too, so it actually lubricates your joints. So that probably helps you quite a bit.
it does. It does.
I used to
The
be a
the
certified personal trainer for about 4 years too.
the other thing about that is I'm
Um,
very adamant about use of. We're getting on a real caveat here for people who may not care about this, but um, the creatine that I use is specifically monohydrate,
oh, nice.
because it takes more water to transport the monohydrate. So the side effect is that you do get a lot of water transport. It makes you thirsty as fuck. But I stay away from the citrate and the nitrate and all that sort of stuff because I prefer the monohydrate, because along with the getting of the extra creatine molecules in situ, uh, we also get a bunch of water poured in.
Right.
So yeah.
Nice. In the chat, we have C&T Designs, Nutty 420s here. Robert. Nice, nice, nice. Very good. Thank you guys so much for joining. Remember to push the thumbs up. And if you're not a subscriber to VSO Gun Channel, I just put a link to his channel in the chat. Please click it, open a new tab and subscribe, and then come back and finish this. But man, we did get off on a little of a tangent. So you've been doing YouTube over 12 years now.
Something like that. Yeah. More, I think. No, yeah, 12. Yeah.
We'll just say like at least 12.
Yeah.
So when you started, I have a question.
Yeah.
When you started, how many of those people from that original group you started with, give or take a year, are still doing it today?
I mean, a good number. I think a lot of people have fallen off. I've had several friends that don't do it anymore. But like, Tim from Military Orange Channel started at the same time ish. We've been friends for years. Eric from Iraq Veteran 8888 started around the same time. So did Hickok. All around the same time. We all kind of saw that the stuff that we really wanted to watch wasn't being done. So we're like, let's do it. And at the time, it was all fun and games, and it wasn't, it wasn't a full-time gig. It was just fun. And now it's transitioned into a career. And while it's still fun, it is a career.
Well, YouTube, especially over the last 4 or 5 years, has really come down hard on GunTubers in general. So like
There's
4 or 5 years ago, super easy.
Yeah, super easy. When I started, super easy, right? They just wanted content. So to give you an idea, and this is really, really sad. I made more in ads when I had 1,000 subscribers than I make on ads now at 280,000 subscribers.
No way.
Think about that for a second.
They used to pay quite a bit more, right?
They used to pay quite a bit more. And that's why you've seen the proliferation of the sponsored video slot, right? And it's built into you've seen it. It's built into the backside of the thing. They expect you now to sponsor your own content because they know they ain't paying you dick.
Man, I would love to say my video was sponsored by somebody. That'd be pretty cool. Need to work on that. 2022 goal right there. I'm gonna get a video sponsored by,
especially if you're doing things like this, right? If you continuously do like get a couple sponsors, take a break every once in a while. Take a break every, I don't know, say you got 6 sponsors for your podcasts or your live streams, use the correct term. You take a break every half hour, 15 minutes, something like that. Say, hey, thanks to so and so.
Yeah,
we can talk offline about this, but there are lots and lots of ways on the business side to make it more financially viable to spend. I don't know how long your shows normally run, like 2 hours,
about an hour and a half.
Yeah.
Or if they like me in an hour. What was funny, I had Danya Vizzi on last night or Tuesday, and my stomach was killing me, and it got to the point where it was gonna get weird. And I was like, all right, well, woo. You see, I started breathing. I was like, it's time to go. It's time to go. I don't know what I ate. I had sushi for lunch. And it's like you don't eat weird food on a road trip. You don't eat sushi from places you don't know. And it was delicious. And I knew it was not going to end well.
I have almost never had this problem. Very, very rarely. I don't know. And now that I said that, I'm going to get sick all the time now. But generally speaking, I eat what I want when I want when it comes to that sort of stuff. The only thing that I won't do is like when I know that I'm going to have a flight, I try to eat relatively bland, because I don't know if
Right.
it's just a fear of like having to take a shit and at 30,000 feet or something like that, and that like suction toilet that they got right there, that where you're bouncing around inside the thing.
Could you
Yeah.
imagine deucing so bad and making that thing smell so horrible? Everyone in row like 30 to 38 is going to be like, ah, I'm dying.
And you know, it's okay. Like, if you are a little person, okay, then fine. But I don't fit in that. I can't, I can barely stand. I wear a 54 jacket. Okay. My shoulders are very broad. I cannot, I can barely contort my body to be able to get the snake pointed in the right direction to be able to hit the bull, let alone,
Right.
have a seat.
I know
You know?
it's challenging. Heck, I can barely fit in my regular plane seat now. I'm about 3 inches away from asking for an extender.
No, I still fit in my own seat. I still fit in my own seat. It's
Yeah,
a little
I
tight when
got
I
the
have to.
slack,
It's
but man, if I get another 3 inches, I'm like, oh shucks, man, I might have to start buying two seats. So I love talking to vets, like Dan, the firearm guy. Love that guy.
mhm.
Great channel, good dude, solid guy. Hickok, we talked a little bit before about Hickok, and I wanted to show you here. I'm going to show you what he did in one of my videos. So I did a review of this place called True Prep in Atlanta. It's my favorite. Shout out to True Prep, my favorite store to go to. They have emergency supplies. They could build an AR in the back. They have bags, plate carriers, food prep. I mean, everything you want in one spot, and they're expanding now. I love it. So I walked in. I talked to the manager, and I was like, "Is it okay if I come in and do a review of your store? I really like your store." She goes, "Sure, come on in." So I walk in and she's standing there with Hickok, and I'm like, "Oh," she goes, "Look, we have two famous YouTubers." I'm like, "No, you have one famous YouTuber, and then me. Like, I'll like clean his shoes." But he was really cool, and we talked for like 15 minutes. He's like, "What are you doing?" "I'm here for the IV-88," and he goes, "Okay, me too. I'm gonna go by tomorrow." We chit chatted. He goes, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I'm gonna review the store," and he goes, "Okay, man, go do your thing." All right, cool. And so let me cue this up because I think it's hilarious. He's like, "Go do your thing," and then he completely trolled me. No, 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 no. I don't think you can hear the volume.
I'm going while you're doing this. I'm going through the chat
Yeah,
and moving them to our internal chat so that I can find them, because
so
I can
Hickok
barely
is
hear.
in the back talking to some GIs that had come in, and everyone recognizes him. And then he looks over and sees me, and he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna go mess with this kid." So he says bye to these guys, and I see him as I have my camera up. I see him in behind me. I'm like, "Dang, I wish he'd get out of the camera." So I'm trying to like block him from view. Hold on. And then he comes over and he just starts trolling me. He picks up an axe and starts goofing off with this axe. And I'm like, you're messing me up, man. So I thought that was hilarious. So I just cut her interview short and we moved over to a different section. And when I turned the camera off, he looked at me and he just kind of smiled and like, ha, 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 that was hilarious.
That's hilarious. I
Right?
I've had several interviews, particularly at Shot Show, where and where I've been. I thought of a specific instance that's actually I didn't want to cover. That's why I had that kind of. But I've had several interviews where like I've been in the middle of something, and one of my buddies just literally comes up and tackles me in the middle of, like, I'm literally standing there talking to the camera, and all of a sudden I'm on the floor, right? Type situation, like
Yeah.
wrestling actively, type stuff, and it's like, man, that was a really good take, son of a bitch.
Yeah, it was funny. It was really funny. And then
So
he had a good humor about it, but
yeah, those guys. at Hickok's outfit are really, really genuine people. Now, a lot of people don't realize this because and I asked them what tripods they use. And then I realized that they don't use one. And the reason they don't use one is because they're both too tall to be able to buy a commercial tripod. Like they're over 7 feet tall.
He's a giant.
They're both him and his son
Is
John.
he really 7? He was at least like 6'8", 6'9". He's
They may
tall.
not. I'm 5'11". I'm short. So like when
Hey,
I
I'm
speak
5.
to them, I have to go like I have to talk to them like this.
Right,
Right.
right.
Yeah. So I pulled a few things out of the chat really quick that I wanted to address, if that's cool.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. So first off, there was one comment that says, "I don't think that Matt, as in speaking about Matt from Demo Ranch, would give any YouTuber with 15K subscribers a chance to do a video." And I don't believe that that's true. Having interacted with Matt on multiple occasions, Matt is one of the most genuine people that I have met. He is a businessman, but he is and he is very successful. But that doesn't change who he is. The difference is that, and a lot of people don't understand this, is when you've got as many irons in the fire as someone like Matt has, he may not even see your inquiry
Oh, well,
because
you know what's let me just butt in. Uh, I have a small channel and a family, and he has 2 channels, a family, a business on the side, doing, like he said, he's wearing like 20 different hats. He's doing so much. I
his
don't have time to sit and watch a movie, and I doubt he has any of that same time.
I like so tomorrow night, for instance, I had to schedule this 2 weeks in advance. I have an evening with my friends, and then I'm helping my girlfriend do some stuff on Saturday morning with like moving lumber around and various other stuff like that. That thing that most people would be like, "Oh yeah, that's what I'm going to do this weekend," is just kind of like do that. No, that was scheduled 2 weeks ago.
You're helping your girlfriend move lumber?
Yeah, she's building a greenhouse. Yeah,
Cool.
her other greenhouse was destroyed. It's at her parents' farm, and it was destroyed in a windstorm. So she's said, "Hey, the clear plastic thing, we're not doing that. We're doing like polycarbonate." Yeah,
Yeah, that makes
we're doing
sense.
it for
Especially in
real.
Ohio, up there where it snows, you have to have a greenhouse, or your plants will never take seed by the time.
Exactly. So she does a philanthropic thing for the local trail. She does a lot of flower planting, and she needs to get her shit in the dirt here in about
Pretty
the
quick.
next 2 weeks. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
something like that. And you have to do that unless you want to put them on every flat surface of your house. You got to have a greenhouse,
Your
and
greenhouse can never be too big,
yeah, never be too big. So we're
just
gonna
like
do
a
it real
gun
this
safe.
time. We're gonna do it real this time, and it's gonna be good. But she doesn't have a trailer, so I have to bring one of the trailers from our farm over to get the lumber to be able to bring it to site because the polycarbonate is going to show up tomorrow. So, how do we get there?
Get where?
How do we get on that discussion? Oh, yeah, scheduling, and that's me, who has probably half or a quarter of the stuff to do that Matt has to do. I don't have any kids. I have one business basically, and he's got a bunch of
Right.
other stuff to do. So like that whole thing, I don't think that people should rip on somebody who's had that level of success. It's like
Well, he's
um,
been in the game a
he's been in the
long
game for a long
time.
time. He's got a lot of stuff going on. So don't think that he's like, don't give him the evil cloak because he doesn't have time. Because
Oh yeah, yeah, of course, of course.
time is one of the, a lot of people, especially um, people that don't side hustle or don't have
Yeah,
their whole livelihood is resultant of their individual effort, um, will um, downplay the value of time. And time is the most valuable resource that exists. The only thing that rivals it is land, and they ain't making either It ain't making any more of either. You
Yeah.
have what you have there, unless I guess I don't know. China's dumping a whole lot of trash in the ocean, so I guess they're technically making a new island. But
Never
um,
know.
yeah, but what I'm saying is that their time is so valuable that people are willing to pay you premium for it to give it to them. So it's even more valuable to somebody who has so many things that are piled on their daily commitment that they have to choose. So if Matt was gonna do a video with me, right? That's 3 hours of time that he's not spending with his kids. So I don't even
Mhm.
ask him, because that's not fair to his kids. I'm doing fine.
I'm very into my kids. I love spending time with them because I did not have the most stellar father in the world. So I make it a point. I know how not to be a dad all day. That's easy. So I make it a point to be like a super dad. So I'd work 50 hours a week. I do YouTube on the side. I like doing, I'm going to switch to only lives on Thursday. I was trying to do it twice a week, but it's just too much, because I put a lot of work into my lives. So I just can't do it. That just one is cool. And I like doing this. You don't get any views on lives. I just like hanging out with YouTubers and just BSing and seeing what they're all about.
To
I
be
dig it.
honest, the live, I watch the VOD. A lot of times I'll watch people's VODs after for anybody who doesn't know what that means, video on demand.
Right.
So the live gets published as a VOD. I'll listen to that in the car or something like that, or in the background when
Yeah.
I'm doing something else. Um,
I have a
so
lot of windshield time. So in sales, I have a lot of windshield time. So I'll always be listening to like Joe Rogan or I like Tim Pool quite a bit. Um, yeah. If I'm eating lunch, I'll throw on an old Casey Neistat video for inspiration because, it's good stuff, solid content.
Next thing that I wanted to address is somebody says I need to go to 4K all over. My DSLR is 1080, but when I film in 4K, I can zoom in without losing resolution. So that is the real value of 4K. So for instance, if you watch any of my B-roll stuff, I film all my B-roll unless it's very specific framing.
Hmm.
Almost all of it is filmed in 4K. And the reason that is done that way is for the purpose of being able to punch in. Um, all the video that I export is exported at 30 frames per second, 1080, because people are watching on this. All right. If
Right.
you look at the amount of, you can see the light blinking there that it's picking up, even though that's not actually happening. We can discuss that later. But you don't need 4K video published to YouTube. If you can take that raw video, you need to film it in whatever the highest, fastest that you can, unless there's specific reasons that you would want to do that. Like for instance, if you're doing like jump cuts, like action jump cuts between different stationary targets, you actually want to film at a slower frame rate. You want to film at like 24 because you
Right.
want to take advantage of that motion blur, right? To be able to ligate those pieces together and to make them look really good. The problem with that is if you're filming at 24 to get the motion blur in your raw video, well, then your whole project can't be at 30 anymore. So you have to
Right.
drop everything down to 24. You see what I'm saying? So
I hope
like,
everyone's taking notes. It took me
yeah,
a
so
while to learn this.
yeah, so like there's a lot that goes into setting different things up, and you basically set your project up to the lowest resolution, lowest speed slot that you need. And so if I film everything higher for like B-roll purposes, then I can, if I'm filming, usually I film at B-roll at 4K 60, because that gives me up to, you can squeeze a little bit more than 50% increase out of it. You can do a 60-ish increase in the framing, and then you get twice as slow. So a lot of times those panning shots that are done,
Yeah.
they may actually look a little bit shaky because I'm doing them freehand. But when you slow them down, they look smooth, type thing. So like
Yeah. Actually, I
there's
just picked up a slider and I've been dying to use it for something.
some, and I have a fluid head for my my XA or for my I have a Manfrotto fluid head.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Highly suggested. Excellent piece of equipment. So enough about it, because I know there's some people that don't care about camera stuff. So and I'm
Oh,
not a
but
camera.
it's really hard. So for everyone in the chat, when you first start YouTube, um, it is really a long learning curve.
What I'll tell, last thing that we're going to discuss about video and YouTube. Okay, we're going to break it off right here. Your camera doesn't matter. What
Yep.
matters is the audio. People will forgive you for your visuals all day long. If you have good visuals, great. If your audio sucks, how fast will you click off that? If you log onto a video and somebody's screeching at you,
Or it's echoey.
or it's echoey or something like, there's no forgiveness for shitty audio. Invest first and foremost in audio equipment and make do with your visuals.
Yeah.
Really good example. This thing, got it years ago. It's dusty. Haven't used it in a while. This thing, audio master, right? Like this thing was fantastic to the point where I would carry this around for interviews, and I would literally just be like audio sync, and do a big clap and literally use this for my audio until I had really good microphones.
You know what's funny is I didn't for a while I didn't have enough money for like a recorder, so I had an old cell phone I would put near me when I put the camera far away, and I would just record a video on the cell phone. It takes pretty okay audio if it's close enough, and then I would clap and then I would sync it in post, so I would have a close audio which sounded okay, and then my camera could be anywhere, and the audio would never change. It was always the same.
I'm going to call bullshit. For a second.
It wasn't that bad.
Anybody who says that they don't have the money, my microphone that I purchased is like $200, right? $250, right? For the microphone that I use for everything. And it's fan-frickin-tastic. Okay. Best microphone that I've ever used.
Well, when I said I didn't have the money, that was like 3 videos, and I'm like, screw this. Let me get some wireless mics.
What you need to do, I don't have it. Bullshit. You have a credit card and you use it to buy frickin' Wendy's and whatever. Although I really, really like Wendy's. Okay. You use it for extraneous bull crap on a regular basis. Get an LLC. You can do them for cheap yourself, or you can go to an attorney and get it done for you for just a little bit more money, right? That's a business expense. So you start a company with an LLC. It costs you $100. You buy some equipment, and then you write it off. If you fail, you fail. You're allowed to show a loss for 5 years.
I have a question, sir.
Yeah.
Does ammo count as a business expense?
It does. Do you have any idea? Oh my gosh. You want to talk about an expense? Okay. Yeah. That's a consumable expense. Yeah.
I need to get that in order.
Receipts.
I really need to get that in order.
You need a CPA. That's what you need. You need to. You doing what you're doing at this point in time. You should have a dude that you pay to do that every year.
I have a really good
because then because then for tax purposes, you get to say, I don't know anything about your fucking tax code that's 1 million pages long. That's why I hired a professional, right? So when the IRS asks you questions, you send them to that guy, right?
Yeah.
And you pay him a couple $100, once you get going, a couple $1,000 a year, something like that, and you just hand them your shit and you walk away and it's handled. Okay.
Yeah, my guy is an ex-IRS agent. He's really good.
That's your dude that you want, that guy, right? So people would say, hey, and I gave this discussion to a couple of people at SHOT this year about that, and they were having a hard time now. And I'm like, look, you just need to pull the trigger on it, because not only that, that investment that you made, you're going to write off that LLC fee, right? You're going to write off that CPA fee in addition to it, and you're going to write off all the expenses in between. On top of that, I have vehicles that I use. the mileage on those. You write the mileage off on your personal vehicle. I forget what it is last year, but the year before that was 58 cents a mile. I literally,
I am
yeah,
driving to the Gundies, and I do drive to the IV-88, which is
several
uh,
hundred.
11 hours away. The
You're doing
Gundies is
trips like
6
that.
hours.
You got it in. You got a log. You keep a logbook in and out, and you take that chunk of mileage, and you submit that on your taxes as a business expense.
Nice. Everyone in the chat, thank you guys so much for coming in. Really quick, I am going to put a link to the VSO channel. It is a fantastic channel. Please, please like and subscribe. I'm sure he'd appreciate it. And please push the thumbs up. All right, man. So let's get into
One
some
more
recent
thing.
videos.
One more thing that I need to. Well, actually, we have two more things that I pulled out of the chat that I got to cover really quick.
All right.
Um, First, what's my favorite caliber to shoot? 300 Blackout. Got a full video on it. Go look it up.
Right.
And then the other one that I think is a really good topic that I think that there's a lot of misinformation on. What do you guys think about the Remington lawsuit that they lost? They didn't lose. They settled. There's a big
They should
difference
have.
there.
I wouldn't have settled. That sets a
It
bad
wasn't.
precedent.
It wasn't. It wasn't them that did it. It was their. It was their insurance companies that did that. I have no love for Remington whatsoever, but they didn't. Nobody at Remington made that decision. The insurance companies made that decision.
Hmm.
So we need to be careful about that. They didn't lose. They settled, and they didn't
There's a
technically
lot of
settle.
misinformation out there because a
Yeah.
lot of people were saying, "Oh, they settled," and all right. Well, I need to research that a little bit
Yeah,
more.
you guys need to research that. Okay, so sorry to hijack, but
So
those
here's
were what
another
I saw
question
there.
that was farther up. Did you ever have military service? Were you in the
No,
military?
no, I was never in the military.
You just had the haircut
I don't have the haircut. What are you talking about?
back in the old days
No,
when you started out. You kind of look. You kind of had that military short hair going on.
no, I've always worn my hair short. Um, my family has people that have served. My brother was in the Navy, and I've just always worn my hair short. Mostly, to be honest, because I played sports. I played football and I wore a helmet all the time. Yeah. But as far as my experience, I never served in the military. So everything that I have learned has been on the commercial side of the industry, or to be completely transparent, I went to school for chemistry.
Oh, so you could cook up some. So Breaking Bad was a very good show for you. You were like, hey, I
No, no, that is terrible. Methamphetamine is completely clear.
right, right. All right. So you know what? Texan65 in the chat has a good point. He goes, Guns and Gadgets has a video on the settlement. And usually that's the first place I go is to watch Jared's stuff because
Jared makes me so lazy. He makes me so
yeah,
lazy. I used to do my own research because 10 years ago I was like, you know what, I'm not listening to any of these pricks on the mainstream media anymore. Just not doing it. And now I don't do any of that anymore because Jared just hands me all the stuff that I need to know at this point.
right. Or 2AEDU. He's a funny cat. You've ever met him?
Yeah. No, I've not met him. I've seen his. Yeah.
He's if you watch 2AEDU for like 20 minutes, you want to start reading the Constitution. Yeah. So you started a video series on products that you don't need, which I like. I like this because I almost bought that bad lever and I thought it was a waste of money because I'm like, am I that lazy not to just hit the button myself? I mean,
um, and there's a couple different layers there on the bad lever. One, I have two videos out about it now that everybody should go watch, and it thoroughly explains what I'm going to basically paraphrase really quick. Um, it's bad weapons handling, period, to have a bad lever on your gun. And if you use the excuse that it's advantageous to left-handers, then I disagree because in my most recent video, I made a joke about left-handed shooters being wrong-handed shooters, but the idea that you needed the
Yeah.
crutch of a little thing that goes through, like, no, you need to go to a real training course where they teach you how to do it properly, because there are certain techniques for left-handed rifle shooters, particularly with the AR-15, that you need to go attend a course and do 1,000 reps of, and then you won't need your gay GHAY lever anymore. Along with that, the there's two levels of training above that, and that is, in my opinion, um, the if you watch, for instance, like Clint Smith has a really good video on this, where I think his quote is that God and Eugene Stoner got together and they made it so, like, if you're holding the magazine correctly, then when you insert it into the gun, your thumb is literally over the button when you when you
Yeah, that makes sense.
and you just push it. But there's a bunch of Hollywood that's done this thing with the slap the side of the gun thing. Everybody thinks they got to do it, and that's not the case. If you just do it properly, if you're going to use the release, then you need to change the way you hold the magazine, which means that you need to change the way that you orient the magazine and whatever equipment that you're carrying it in, so that when you grab it, it's in the right orientation to go straight into the gun, and then your thumb is right there. You just press it. You don't hit it, you press it. And then there's the other philosophy, which is one of the ones that I subscribe to, which is the bolt release doesn't always work, but the charging handle always does. Well, excuse me. The charging handle works 99.9% of the time. And when it doesn't work, you got a major problem.
Right.
And the button definitely wasn't going to help you in the first place. So you've got usually a bolt override malfunction when the charging handle doesn't work. And if you don't know what a bolt override malfunction is, I have a full video on a bolt override malfunction. It's a nasty one that it will take training and reps to be able to clear
So,
quickly.
That's something I want to do this year, is take training classes, because I'm just I'm from California, for God's sake, originally. I mean, we just shoot paper. There's not any tactical training out there. So I've taken 2 pistol classes and had a good time. It tightened up my shots a little bit. But I've never taken like an AR class because it's been cost prohibitive before.
Well, what I suggest that you do, there's one class that I suggest everybody take, and that is the fight at Tactical Response in Camden, Tennessee, because it's a force on force class.
Oh, those are fun. They look fun.
Yeah, it is not it's live fire, but it's not live fire. You're using they use federal force on force rounds. So they have guns that are set up, and it's so there are really 3 products that I think of when I think of simulated munitions.
Right.
One is Simunition, which is a garbage product. Okay, it's just terrible. That's what you saw on the whatever that popular show is, where they were doing the thing where they had basically a paintball field that they shot real guns at each other type thing. Garbage product. Then you have the federal force on force round, and then you have the UTM round. And so the federal force on force round does everything the Simunition round does, but it has some extra safety built into it, and it's also built in a way that makes it much more functional, so the guns don't go down nearly as quickly as the Simunition guns. And then the UTM round is like, even though to be honest, I don't really like the guys from UTM, because they're kind of from New Jersey and they kind of got this whole like thing.
I got a guy.
Yeah. I really don't like that. And like I said, I'm a very transparent person. So I've not done any work with UTM, but they make us the superior. Their product is superior to everyone's in ways that I could do a full dissertation on. But there's a lot of extra safety built into it. But the federal force on force round is what Tactical Response uses, which is a fantastic round. But they have different administrative processes in place to make sure that everything is done safely.
Nice.
So
Yeah, I definitely
um,
want to try one of those force on force classes. It just
it
looks more
highly
realistic.
a scenario-based force on force class is what everybody should take. People are like, what class should I take? I'm like, that one. I don't care what else training you take. I don't care what marksmanship training, what kind of fundamentals training, what kind of tactics training. You need to go
Right.
experience the two-way range. And
Yeah.
that's exceptionally valuable.
All right, moving on. You also did one about laser bore sighters, which look, look, I had one. It was given as a gift. I think it probably saved me a couple shots at the range. Would I invest in one and buy it? No. But it probably got me on paper at 50 feet, and then I could
Okay,
walk it in.
so I will.
All right, here we go, folks. Hold on. It's the thought is forming.
So if you're shooting a 50 BMG, or you're shooting a 338 Lapua or a 300 Win Mag or something like that, or a 375 H&H or
Right.
something like that that is prohibitively expensive to shoot, then a laser bore sighter is probably something that you should invest in. If you're shooting anything other than 408 Shy-Tech or and up, right? Forget about it, because if you shoot enough, you can actually tell if the gun is off and where it's relatively at before you even pull the trigger. If you know what you're doing, you can you
Oh,
can
see,
lit- you can
that one
literally.
statement took me out of the equation. If you know what you're doing, good night, folks.
So I'll give you a really good example. So I was at a course, I was at a rifle course, and it was one of those weird drills where you ended up with your buddy's rifle, and the idea was that they passed you what they wanted to do was pair an AK guy with an AR guy, because then their shit literally wasn't compatible. So they forced you to exchange ammo and communicate and stuff like that. Well, it turns out that didn't happen. Um, and I went with another AR guy, and he kind of had some budget shit bolted to his gun, and so I'm shooting at this target for the purpose of giving covering fire while he's moving, and his rear sight just takes a dump, literally exits the equation, falls off the gun.
Jeez.
So I'm literally hitting targets at 300 yards with half of my iron sights. And I'm not saying that for the purposes of being like, my dick is so big, I'm going to slap it on the table right here for you guys to see it. I'm saying that if you have enough experience, you can tell where the gun is pointed. And the same thing goes when you put a red dot or put a scope on the gun. You can shoulder the rifle and be like, this thing's 6 feet high, right? You don't need an aid to do that for you that you paid a whole bunch of money for. I don't know what laser bore sighters cost, but
Like $15, $20.
oh well, whatever. A good one can't be
Well,
that
I didn't say I
expensive.
had a good one. I had one that was
Yeah,
gifted to me.
yeah. Now
No,
the
but
other
like
thing,
on a bolt action gun, I can look through the bolt at the target. Look
yeah,
down the barrel.
that's the other thing. That's
Yeah.
going to be much more accurate, because here's the thing: like, you can't see the dot on most laser bore sighters, because the dot grows. Even though it's a laser, it grows when it gets out there, and usually it's fairly dispersed. You're better off looking the through the bore, lining it up, and then dialing your scope that way. If you absolutely have to bore sight something, if you're
Yeah.
dealing with ARs, forget it. There's no mechanically zero the gun.
Yeah. But zeroing the gun to me is kind of therapeutic. It's a lot of fun. ATN, I have some of their scopes, which are bananas. So ATN has a one shot zero on their scope.
I've
So
seen
you
it.
shoot and then you move the crosshairs to where you shot, and then your next shot is right in the middle.
I did some work with ATN some years ago, and I got to the point where I was like, "Hey guys, look, the problem I have with ATN, and I've told them this, is that they spend a lot of extra funding and time packing a whole bunch of widgets and bullshit into their optics. Whereas if they just
Yeah.
eliminated 80% of the stuff that the thing does and give me the core features but enhanced, that would be fantastic. But they're also tied, or at least the time that I was working with ATN, they're in California, and they can only afford basically the bottom of the barrel people that are right out of college, because nobody will work with them because they're in California. If they put a firearms related company on their resume, they can't get a job in the state.
Trust me, being a someone that would shoot recreationally in California, you couldn't tell people. I felt like Anne Frank at work. You can't tell anybody that you shoot guns.
Yep.
Case in point, one Friday, I had a hot date. I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna put my head down today. I'm gonna get all my stuff done. So I was really quiet. About 2 o'clock, I got called into the HR department. We've had some concern about you. You're awfully quiet today. Is everything okay? So bald white guy, extra quiet on a Friday, and they're like, "Is he gonna go crazy and start killing people?"
Oh my
I was like,
god.
I just want to. I'm trying to hit happy hour. I'm trying to save some money tonight. I'm poor, I just. But they knew I shot guns, and so immediately they're.
It's
Listen,
ridiculous.
I can't stand that state, man.
Yeah, no, I can't stand it. Nope.
Uh,
But anyway, there were there were other things that you wanted to talk about, right? There were other topics, because we have to we have to actually stay on topic here, because
no, no,
otherwise,
no.
like,
I wanted to ask you about your tactical flintlock pistol.
oh my god.
Now, I'm skimming through your videos, and I stopped on that one. I was like, this is fucking genius. I love that idea. In case you don't know, he put all this. You put a red dot. You had like a flashlight. Was it a
It
laser
took so
flashlight?
much time. It took so much time to do, because I'm
Ah,
literally retrofitting it. I had to grind down the housing of
do
the
you still own
arm.
it?
Yeah.
You should do another video because that video today would crush. That's 3 years old.
I did one 2 years. Was it a year ago?
No, I
I
think it
did
was
another.
like
I
the
did
original
one the original one. Yeah.
2019. It was around when you did your 2019 shot show, give or take 3 or 4 videos.
Um,
But if you
yeah.
did one today and did a short or something like that, it would crush.
To be
It's
honest,
so funny.
I
I'll
don't
do
think
one.
it.
I'll
I
borrow
did.
it.
It didn't do very well initially, and I did. The only reason I did a second video was because I'm looking it up right now.
My buddy Will in the chat also said he works for a software development out of New York. No, he can't tell anybody. And I've seen Will go to the range with 17,000 bags. That's one thing. I want
Okay,
like,
they're separated by 6 months. You're right. Yeah, I thought they were farther apart than that. They just didn't do very well.
I think
Um,
in today's climate, they would do better.
or no, this. Yeah, perhaps. Let me make sure that this is the right video. Um,
Because you could
because
title it, "You Won't See This in Fortnite." And then all these little kids are like, see what in
yeah,
Fortnite?
yeah, that's just. I suppose that's to my own detriment, because like I don't really go after the sugar, what I call the sugar, which is like I don't really. And if anybody is a 14-year-old watching this, I don't dislike the fact that you're a kid. It doesn't help me if I have a bunch of 14-year-old kids watching the videos. It really doesn't
No,
help
but
me.
I'm just saying I think that would be a funny video because I saw it and I immediately stopped and clicked on it because I was like,
I like it. Like, it's fun to shoot, right? It's a bitch to clean,
when it
and
shoots, it looks very fun to shoot because you had a
yeah,
couple.
yeah. That's it.
But the
Well,
slow motion on that is priceless.
yeah. So I got my friend Nito has a high speed camera, and I contract him from time to time to come in and do that.
Dude, that was
So
so great.
um,
If you could tie it into a different type of pistol, or if you could tie it into a different storyline or something, I think it would be I think that would be great coming back. But
yeah, I just think that there's like not a lot of people. The biggest problem nowadays is because everything is so reliant on individual search effort at this point in time because the algorithm works the way that it works.
Yeah.
That the doing it is it's likely not going to perform well.
I
Just
don't
because
even
there
know.
aren't a lot of people. There aren't a lot of people. Maybe I'll do a short or something like that.
You mean
Maybe
no
I'll
one's
take
trying to tactical out a flintlock these days? Come
people
on.
don't search for muzzleloader. People don't search for flintlock. Like very like if you look at the if you look at the if I type into my software that hacks to find the hits on flintlock right now.
Don't title it that. Title it the number one gun I bet you don't have. People are like, they'll stop all day long to click that.
Yeah, the only problem with that is that is, in my opinion, that's really clickbaity. Okay, so
No.
actually, Flintlock is doing. Flintlock's actually not doing half bad right now. Now that I,
See? See?
yeah, but it's not doing as good as it could.
I
But
think it's great. If you guys
it gets
haven't
a
seen it, it's phenomenal.
it
Tactical
gets good numbers. So maybe the times have changed. I'm not gonna rule it out.
or you should do is you should do the full on rifle with like EOTech or something, or
So
that would be
so I was gonna do a blunderbuss, and so I have this really quick
there. You
story.
go.
I was going to do a blunderbuss, and we were out in Iowa. My brother used to live in Iowa, and we got into duck hunting. And we are like literally like the worst duck hunters in the world. We don't give a shit about your shooting the ducks on the water rules. We don't give a crap about your. We're going to follow the regulations so we don't pay heavy fines, and that's about the limit. Um, so we go to this one marsh, and there's just these trash birds everywhere that nobody shoots called coots. And we were going to get a blunderbuss and just fill it full of BBs, right? Just get like cartons of BBs and just. But when I went to order it, it was like 14 weeks for delivery. I'm like, that ain't going to work. So I got on the phone to my boy at Henry, Repeating Arms, Henry Rifle, and said, "Hey, you guys make a 3.5-inch Magnum single shot 12 gauge. Um, I've got a really dumb idea." And they're like, "Curtis, we love your dumb ideas. What do you got?" And I was like, "I'm going to take that thing and I'm going to cut it back inch to inch, right? And do a sawed off shotgun, shoot 3.5-inch Magnums out of it so that we get velocity and scatter so that we can hit a lot of birds all at once." And given that I'm an SOT, I held an 07 with a special occupation tax stamp. I was able to get the gun in, do the testing, chop it back, fill the paperwork, and drive it back to Iowa in like 3 days. So we
Oh
were
man.
literally back on the marsh, wasting trash birds to the point where I was shooting real ducks with it. My brother has like this really high end Franke, and the duck flies overhead and he misses it 3 times, and I just take the sawed off and I'm just like blah, right, and knock both ducks out of the air with one shot. And he's like, really, really,
Yeah,
and I'm
that's
like,
hilarious. How loud was that?
super loud, and it's really really uncomfortable to shoot in the boat because a lot of people don't who've never fired a heavy recoil gun like a 12 gauge shotgun out of a boat. It's like way worse than shooting it with your feet on the ground.
Oh, I can
Way
imagine.
way worse. So there's a full video. Actually, I think it is the premiere video on the channel. It's called "One Shotgun to Rule Them All," and it is like my favorite video that I have produced to date.
I'm gonna have to check that
It
out.
is
So
fantastic.
my buddy Clyco47, shout out to the AK world. What software is he using to get that data? That would be awesome to know.
What data is he talking about?
That was about 5 minutes ago. I think you were talking about how the videos aren't doing so.
That's one thing that I won't disclose because it gives me an edge.
All right.
Sorry.
I'll see if I can find out on the down low.
Yeah.
I'm an open book, except for that.
Except for there are certain things that I don't let go.
You have to pay extra for his OnlyFans, and then you see the good stuff.
Actually, I thought about doing an OnlyFans where I like install like guns or do like videos of me punching like the third hole on a machine gun or something like that.
I thought about doing an ASMR video of me fondling like guns and loading magazines. You know how they do those weird whispers and all that.
I thought about, yeah, that's
Those
exactly the thing
videos
that I thought
do
about doing.
millions of views, and they are weird. Who watches that
I
stuff?
don't know, but I like the idea of the like,
Yeah, because those girls, they tap the mic and they talk all crazy and they make weird noises, and I'm like, who watches? If
I
none, oh,
don't get
everyone
it.
in the chat right now, write down ASMR sleep or just any kind of random video. There are some psychopaths out there doing like dental exams, all kinds of crazy banana stuff. And you'll watch it for like a minute and a half. I'm like, okay, that's good. Whatever. Some people will watch it clean through and they get millions of
I don't
views.
get it.
It's so
Um,
weird. They make all kinds of poppy noises with their mouth. Oh shit.
Look, I'm too busy for that shit. You know what I
Yeah,
do?
I get
So
scared when I have something this big this close to my mouth. I'm like, nah, I don't like it.
so
When it
here's
gets
the thing.
that
Like
big,
there are some times that I do sleep is one of those things that is somewhat challenging for me. Um, it depends on my workload and such, but the thing that works really well for me is an audiobook. So I'm doing the Wheel of Time right now. I'm on
oh,
like book
Robert
two.
Jordan.
Yep.
I read him.
Um, which a lot of
Huge
people,
books. Huge
a
book.
huge risk breakers, right?
Yeah.
Um, the What a lot of people don't realize is that that motherfucker died and didn't finish his shit. So Jordan, not Jordan, gosh, slips in my mind. Another author that I'm really a big fan of finished The Wheel of Time.
Yeah,
So
I started reading those books in high school, and I read that. I read all the Dragonlance books. Huge fan.
um,
I was a closet Trekkie in high school too. I couldn't tell my
so
friends to watch
I've
that stuff.
done all the Game of Thrones. I've done all the Lord of the Rings, except for I couldn't do the Silmarillion. Like I needed to sit down with like a flow chart to be able to get, and I just couldn't do it. All the Witcher books, um, the Stormlight Archive, uh, the current books, the Mist Mistborn series. Um, Now I'm on the Wheel of Time. So
After that,
any
you should do the Rift War saga.
Rift War,
Yeah,
write that down.
by Margaret Weiss and Tracy Hickman. Phenomenal,
Okay.
phenomenal.
Anyway,
It's
so
about 17, 18, 20 books series. So there's
oh,
a
okay, so
lot to go.
that's stuff that I'm into. I
Yeah,
actually did the Greece Archives, which is off of off of a series that was on Netflix, and it turned out to be nothing like what Netflix did, which is
I had no idea you were such a book nerd. Wow.
just what I don't listen to music running down the road. I listen to an audiobook. So anyway,
I listen to news or audiobooks also. I don't
back to
listen to music.
the to the chat. There's a couple things here. Um, Somebody said, "I love the hot crazy matrix behind VSO." Um, so that was a gift from Dana McClendon, the dude who did the video himself, and it says right here. So he sent it to me after I got divorced, and he says, "To my friend Curtis, Commander, Ohio Unicorn Search and Rescue Team." Is what's written across the bottom.
I
So
really want one of those now.
yeah, it's fantastic. So I violated this section right here, danger zone. Redheads, strippers, girls named Tiffany, and hairdressers. My ex-wife was a hairdresser.
Hairdressers really are nuts. And I told you before, I think it's the chemicals. I mean, you can't be around those chemicals all day long and not be a little loopy.
Well, I am a chemist, so
Maybe you made her loopy.
well, no, I don't do chemistry anymore, but I suppose that could be where I got my crazy temperament. Who knows? And then somebody said they wanted to see my my opinion on Springfield, and I don't know if you want to jump into that right now
No,
or
no,
later.
no, no. We're saving that.
Okay.
So, Doo Head Dad, what a great name.
Yeah.
Uh, said he is thanks, Smash. Just checked out ASMR, and we'll see what my wife thinks about it. So I showed my wife. There's one chick that does all kinds of weird noises, and my
Okay.
wife is looking at me like, "Is this the kind of crap you watch?" I'm like, "What?" Because I want to do a gun one like soon, probably next week. I'm gonna sit down and do like, dropping brass, or I'm just gonna do like all kinds of weird stuff.
I feel like there's something because I've thought about opening an OnlyFans and doing shit like this, right?
Really?
Yes, I've thought about being like, hey, follow my OnlyFans where I like literally like hand caress lube into bolts, right? I filmed one,
Oh no!
and
Oh,
I'm like, I'm
you're
not
like,
editing it. I'm
who
not.
used all my gun grease? Oh, that's right.
So I literally stopped the editing process when I went to find like background audio to put over it. And I'm
You
like,
don't use audio. It's just your
no,
voice.
no, no. I needed a background filler to get rid of a little bit of microphone hiss. Yeah, I
I would
needed,
think 70s porn.
and so I started doing it. I'm like, I gotta stop.
You could sample that, and I bet you there's no copyright. On like if you get some real budget 70s porn, I
No,
guarantee
you can. So this one I will tell. I pay for Epidemic Sound.
I thought
Um,
about that.
yeah, no, highly suggested. Highly suggested. Um,
Hmm.
there are some
What
things
happens
that
if
I
you
get for
quit
free for
paying
the
for it?
longest. No, it's worth its weight in gold.
But if you stop paying for it, what happens to all the videos you taped previously that are online?
Exactly the problem. Yep, they got you by the balls. But
See,
here's the thing, man. Business expense, which means it's technically free.
I'll think about it. That's good advice.
Because listen, So I'm in the midst of doing my taxes currently, and I haven't gone through all my electronic receipts yet. That's what I've got left. Okay, to catalog my electronic receipts and submit them. And you best believe that I'm going to my PayPal that is hooked up to my Epidemic Sound, and I'm pulling that expenditure every single month. And that's just, it's, when you think about it a certain way, it's free.
Don't they have B-roll and stuff on there too?
They have sound effects, B roll, um, uh, all genres that you could possibly. There, I have never failed to find some kind of track that will work for background work.
So when I did my Vegas stuff for shot, I didn't tape enough B-roll, and the B-roll I did tape, the audio dropped out. I had some really good stuff, but it just I wanted the sound of the cars going by for it, so I didn't really have.
You could have easily
And
pulled.
then I watched your shot show video, which will lead into Springfield. So I watched your shot show video, and I'm like, man, that's what a veteran video looks like after a couple years. So I did mine. I'm like, you know what? I'm okay with this now, and I released it. And I should have cut it. Probably I should have cut half of it out because it was just trash. But yours was pretty concise to the point, and you
It
actually
was
didn't have
still
a
fucking
whole.
long though.
It was a little long, but it was. I did 4 videos.
So
Too long.
Somebody asked me probably like 5, 6 years ago, and they're like, Kurt, how long should my videos be? And my response was, as long as they need to be.
Right.
So that's why I spend so much time in post, because I'm I care about knocking 15 seconds out. I care about like cutting 20 times to get 20 seconds worth of reduction.
I'm aiming for 4 minutes 20 seconds. Between 4 minutes and 4 minutes 20 seconds. I want to go shorter because that's the trend now.
Short. There's markets for both. There's
Because
markets
well,
for
they were
short.
talking. Oh, this YouTube guy the other day was talking about we want you on the platform a lot longer, so people watch more videos. So people used to think having they used to be 10 minutes, now it's 8 minutes. Having like a 9 or 10 or 12-minute video was the key because you get mid-roll ads and all that. But what they were finding out after a lot of research is the shorter the video, people would watch it, then they would watch the next one, next one, next one, next one, next one. So
And
they'd
it
watch
depends. It
twice
really
as many
depends on your
videos.
audience.
Yeah, well, I'm impatient. Like anytime I see a video, like say I want a note, the new note's coming out. Am I going to watch a 20-minute review on it or an 8-minute review or a
You're gonna watch the
3-minute?
8-minute review.
I'll watch
Yeah.
the shorter review because, or even a gun. Like, do I really want to know the Springfield Army Hellion? Do I want a 20-minute review or a 55 if it's nothing fancy? Or do I want 6 minutes? Do you like it? Yes, no, why? Great.
I try to
I
keep
don't
them.
want to know
I try
all
to.
that.
My target is between 10 and 15 minutes. That's
I'm
what I try to.
trying. I'm gonna try, and I say that because the gun collection video I just did was like 14 minutes, and I cut it down to 12. And I still think I could probably cut another minute out.
My videos are easily 3 to 6 hours on the timeline when I start.
Wow, mine aren't that big.
Yeah, easily. Every single one of them.
Mine,
Well, I mean, the one that I published today
mine are probably
probably.
like 2 hours max.
No, mine.
Then I chop it.
Yeah, mine easily especially with all the B-roll, reach into the 6 hours on the timeline easy a lot of the times.
And that's what separates a professional, folks.
Yeah.
All right, so your SHOT Show, you went really hard in the paint on Springfield Armory. I mean, not a little bit. You didn't tippity toe. You went into the paint and you just slugged them. And look, I know what they did. Not the whole company didn't do it. In case you guys don't know, the recap, there was some legislation floating around. Their PR team kind of backdoor supported it.
Before I do this, I'm going to go get some more whiskey. Go ahead and film in. Go ahead and film in.
All right. So there was some backdoor shenanigans going on, and they got caught with their hand in the cookie jar. But it wasn't the whole company. It was the PR guys. Maybe the president was involved, but really it was the PR team representing Springfield Armory. They got caught. They got put on blast. It's about 3-4 years ago now. And then they apologized. They came out with a really sincere, I think it was very sincere, apology video. Hey, you know what? What we did was wrong. We're very sorry. It's not, they just, it was a good apology. Heck, they had the mayor of the town that they work from on the video. So I feel like if you're going to go hard like that at Springfield, because they did, a few people in the company, which they did apologize, went kind of anti 2A, you'd have to boycott Levi's, Amazon, Sears, all these other companies, GMC. Basically, if you want to boycott 2A companies, I'd be wearing a burqa right now, and I'd just be out in the middle of the woods.
There's who said Hennessy? Ew. Gross.
No, so Levi consistently every year does anti 2A training, anti this training. GMC, there's one website you can go out in the open, and there's hundreds of companies that are anti-gun that donate to moms, whatever. I don't know. They did apologize, Kurt.
Here's the distinction.
All right,
it's a very, very easy distinction, and that is Springfield Armory's bread and butter is selling guns to people. Levi's is selling jeans to people. There's a major difference between somebody who literally extracts money from people's gun budgets doing shifty tactics inside their state than somebody who just wants to sell pants. Or I use Amazon. I've purchased 3 things from Amazon today. I draw the line at my gun companies.
Well, what about
So
Ruger? Ruger did some shady stuff back in the olden days.
Here's the thing. I have been vocal about Ruger. Bill Ruger is a fucking traitor. He's also dead. And the company has changed direction since his death.
Okay, devil's advocate here. Springfield apologized sincerely. If you saw the video,
Okay.
it sounded very sincere. I mean, heck, they had the mayor of the town that all
I
these
want
hundreds of
the
people,
jobs of the
the
people.
PR firm that they hired that did it, they're not there anymore.
I want the jobs of the people at Springfield that were working at the executive level at the time. Because you cannot tell me that the CEO didn't know. That's fucking bullshit. They can say whatever they want. That's called damage control. That's
Is
fucking
there a new
bullshit.
CEO? I gotta check.
If they have fired every single person that was involved, I want the internal emails released around the topic, and anybody who's associated with those decisions should no longer work at that company. Once that occurs, I'll give them a second chance. They can call my company that does my booking, and I'll give them a second chance.
Well, I mean,
Until
that's like
which
saying
time that has occurred,
just because Bill Ruger died, what about all his executive team that's still there?
you also have to remember that the way that the companies were run 40, 50 years ago is completely different. So a lot of people think that companies like these big companies that they think of have like thousands upon thousands upon thousands of employees. No. Right? Like the sites that I use, XS, they've got like 20 employees. Like they're the number one supplier of tritium sites in the country.
Yeah.
And they have 20 employees. CMMG, one of the most popular, what I would classify as mid-grade AR brands, they maybe have 100 employees.
Yeah, I like
maybe. Like if we're talking about the dudes that, like, if we count the dudes that literally clean the parking lot, you know, they might have 100 employees. So the way the economies of scale in the gun industry work, which is a whole nother topic, dealing in money and all that sort of stuff. Gun companies statistically are an order of magnitude smaller than people think they are. Bill Ruger, at the time that he was running Ruger, had inconsequential power that derived all the products that they were running at the time.
Yeah. Well, that
So,
company was one of the oldest too at the time.
yeah.
I mean,
No,
they're still one of the oldest.
Agreed. And so now that this has occurred, you look at the transition from what Ruger was doing, which is basically the flagship gun was the Mini 14 that was, and my old man has an original. No threaded barrels were allowed, no adjustable stocks, none of that stuff. You look at what the company is doing now, you've got the Ruger Precision Rifle, which is a tacked out driver.
Oh, I love it. I have it.
Love it. You got the
at a good price point, by the way.
The takedown rifles, fantastic. I don't
the
like
5.56 is. I think the Ruger 5.56 is really a great budget AR.
I don't. Are you talking about the piston gun?
No, just their
okay. The DI gun. I like the DI gun. I don't like the piston gun whatsoever. But
the AR 5.56, you can get them. I think I had a couple. I think I paid like $750.
Right. If you look at their, I didn't like it, but the 1022 that was turned into the PC carbine.
Whoa! I love the PC carbine.
I don't like it, but at the same time, it should exist.
I like the PC Charger.
Just because, and that's what
the
I'm
little
talking
one.
About. Yeah,
you don't like the little one.
Personally speaking, I don't like it, but that's not an efficacy problem. That's a Kurt's taste problem.
I like it,
And
because
I'm very capable of separating my professional opinion from my personal opinion on, and my professional opinion is the Ruger PC Charger should be in every fucking American home. All right. But it's not in mine because I just don't like it.
Jonathan James has something I see a lot, and I don't disagree with it. He says a budget AR is one that can be built for under 600, and that's yes and no. Good luck trying to sell that gun for anything because Frankenstein builds don't sell well, and I'd
Okay,
rather
so
have a
like
warranty.
my company, um, I have a private line of ARs. Okay, and this I'm going to go ahead and lay this out
Do you
here.
really?
Yeah, yeah, I sell. Yeah, I make and sell ARs. Yeah,
I didn't know that.
yeah. Um, uh, they're in stock right now.
What's the price point on those ARs, sir?
$6.99, $7.99, I think.
Oh,
And they are not budget by any stretch of the imagination.
no
They have
kidding.
the best components that I could find for the concept that I was running at the time, and I went for bomb proof. And anyway, that's not what we're discussing here. The reason that is bad is because you have people who have that mentality, that $600 and less mentality. Uh, what they have done is stifled gun companies individually, because I need you to understand something very, very, very. There's a lot of elements to it. You have to make the parts, and then you have to pay the insurance on the manufacturer of the guns, and then you have to pay the excise tax on the manufacturer of the guns, and then you have to pay the shipping on the guns, and then you have to pay the you have to take the hit on that gun for distribution. So when you buy a gun that is $600 and you bought it from a large company like Ruger or insert anybody who doesn't sell direct to consumer, right? You
Right.
bought it at a gun shop, generally speaking, that's distribution model. That $600 price point was $500 to the distributor, which was $400 to the manufacturer. So what you've done is you basically made it so they had to make it so freaking cheap. They had to cut so many corners to make that gun. And then on top of that $400 for that $600 AR, they have to pay 11% excise tax off the top, regardless of whatever it is. If it's $400, they have to pay 11% of $400. If it's $1,000, they have to pay 11% of $1,000. And then they have to pay a prorated insurance premium on top of that.
Hmm.
And what that means is if they make 5,000 guns, their premium is different than if they make 100 guns. And it scales pretty linearly in terms of what you would think. If your premium is $5,000 for 50 guns, then if you make 5,000 guns, then it's literally 2 orders of magnitude higher. So that's eating at that. So a manufacturer that's making that $600 AR for you is making like $5 a rifle.
No way.
Yeah,
Really?
they're making $5 a rifle. Yep.
Holy crap.
And that's why gun companies are poor as fuck and are always going after government contracts because they can't afford the commercial market. It's a serious problem. And that mentality, which I love the fact that I can go make an AR-15 I can make 3 AR-15s right now for the cost of a single AK-47. That's fucking awesome. But at the same time, the downside to that is that you're crushing these companies. Absolutely crushing these companies. So If you are building a whole bunch of ARs for you and your neighborhood for shit hits the fan type, prep stuff, cool, do it. But after you've got those trash tier builds under your belt, you need to go out and support real companies that are making real products. And you need to accept that you're going to pay a little bit more money for them, because and nobody will tell you that, because the problem with that situation is that that race to the bottom has really destroyed companies, to the point
Wow,
where
I had no idea,
you
man.
cannot buy a really good example. And I have no affiliation with them whatsoever. None. Absolutely zero. 5 years ago, the Sig Sauer was having big problems with their legions. I don't know if you remember this or not, but
They
they
were
had
going off.
serious problems with their legions. And that's supposed to be the cream of the crop, as in the most reliable, the most high-end gun that they can possibly make, hand-fitted. They could not afford to make them. And they were literally cutting corners wherever they could to get them out the door, because that was the gun that, what their marketing scheme was that they would sell a couple thousand legions a year, and then people would see the legion and their friend's hand, or their gun dealer's hand, or whatever, and be like, oh, I want one of those, and they see the price tag. Oh, well, you know what, I can buy one of their cheaper models and get basically the same thing. But because they're making $5 on a 226, they can't afford to make the $2,000 or $1,500 Legion at 100 guns a year, 500 guns a year. They can't afford to do it, because they have to insure each of those product lines individually. You don't just go to somebody and say, you don't just go to your insurance provider and say, hey, we're going to insure, we want an insurance premium, or we want an insurance policy for what we do, right? And they're like, well, what do you make? And you're going to have to itemize list each of the thing, and they're going to evaluate each of those individual SKUs that you sell and the category that they're in. They're going to charge you an insurance premium on each one of those. So to give you I'll just go ahead and lay it out there straight up. My insurance premium, and this is probably going to get me booted, was $10,000 last year.
Dang.
And I only made 40 rifles last year.
You physically make them yourself?
I physically, well, I don't machine them.
Well, yeah, of course.
Yes, I hand put together each of the rifles.
Oh, very cool. That's what I want to get my son and my daughter. I want to get them matching rifles, and I want to get the lowers with their names on it, or just with like the last name, and just give them to them as gifts. Or I want to do it with like 1911s. I would love to get like two.
That would be really cool. There's a dude out of Ohio that does, I don't remember his name, but they do custom 1911s.
Because the problem, like Springfield Armory has the Garrison, and it has this really cool finish on it. But in the little letters on one side, it says Garrison. I was like, yeah, I wish that wasn't there, because then you could do something on that slick side.
Yeah, yeah. There's value to that. There is. But so for people to understand that, so on top of that, you've got some other things. On top of the insurance premium, on top of the excise tax for each of those items. Because remember, you paid that insurance premium, and then you paid 11% on the value of the sale on each of those items. On top of that, you have to be licensed. So the licensing fee is bullshit, right? It's like $300 every 3 years, whatever. But if you're doing it, you probably need to test them, which means that you probably need a full auto variant, which means that you need a special occupation tax stamp, which if you're in gross receipts over 100K, then that means then you're paying $1,000 a year for that. And if you're doing that, then you're manufacturing defense articles, which means that you have to register with the Department of State for $2,250 a year for your ITAR registration.
Jeez. I
So
had no idea there was
it's
so much into that.
so much. Any company that participates in this market bleeds money like crazy, and that's why all gun companies are fucking poor.
Hmm.
And that's
Well, I
why you
mean,
see
they had a
corners
good couple
cut, and you're
years.
like, why did they cut this corner? They cut that corner because the fucking consumer is cheap as fuck, and they'll buy the one that's $10 less because it's $10 less.
I would usually do when I first got into guns. I was, very. I
And
used
that
to
isn't the
buy
whiskey
like a.
talking. That's
I
that's the
would buy
fucking
a base
accountants talking.
AR, and then I would spend $200 changing all the furniture on it and all that stuff, and the handguard. And I'm like, why didn't I just buy that from the get go?
And there's some value in building. There's value in building your own rifles for the first couple, so that you learn what to do and what not to do, their inner workings. I think it's exceptionally valuable for people to start with a lower and bolt a
Mhm.
bunch of shit to it so they can learn how to PM that gun. Because if you build those guns, that's how I learned to do it. I just did it, right? And several hundred guns later, yeah, I know some shit about that. So I'm like, hey, you know what? I've had several hundred guns come across my desk, several thousand guns come across my desk for review over the course of my career. I think I can do this. I have a license to do it already, so I went ahead and be like, hey, what do I want? And I came up with a concept, and that's what I did. Right? It's built off of those experiences. What you don't get by buying the gun or buying the lower and doing it yourself is the experience of the person that would have put it together for you. And there are tiny, tiny little, there's probably 20 small things in the manufacture of an AR that if you haven't put together 100 of them and shot thousands upon thousands of rounds through each of them, that you would never have known,
Hmm.
that then go into the formula of manufacturing the gun when you're trying to do it for real. And that's what you get when you're buying a rifle from a reputable manufacturer. The only
Yeah, I
difference is
like.
the only difference is that when you're buying it from somebody like, and I'm just going to throw out a name, when you're buying it from somebody like Daniel Defense, they've done it for people like the United States Army, and they're on a completely different scale,
Daniel
right?
Defense does make good stuff, and if you look at the machine work that goes into their uppers, if you look at the small details of just a fit and finish looks way better.
The only
You know,
product that I have ever tested, like, I only talk about products that I have personally tested. The only device that I've ever tested from them directly is their DD Wave, their silencer. And I'll be honest, I didn't like it, and I told them I didn't like it. I told them how to fix it, how to do it better, and all that sort of stuff. Um, but even though that is the case, I would be being intellectually dishonest if I said anything to the effect of Daniel Defense doesn't make good guns, because that can't be true.
yeah, they do make a great gun. I
They
mean,
make a good gun.
I don't know.
Do some of their choices that they should do they meet with my philosophy? No, but that doesn't mean that they're wrong. They just don't line up with the trend that I go for.
Yeah, like if you take a DPMS and put it next to a Daniel Defense, there is a huge difference in fit, finish, and just overall feel of the gun and
Um,
features.
yeah, particularly if you go into like the 308 platforms, you get into a completely different bear. Everybody's kind of gotten onto the AR bandwagon. Once you move over into the 308 side of the house, it's a fucking mess.
I had a DPMS at 308. I paid like $900 for it, and it was okay. A couple hiccups, but it was heavy. It was super heavy. And then I just picked
Okay,
up the PSA one.
I'm
It's
looking at
still
the chat.
heavy,
I'm
but a
looking at the
great
chat
rifle.
here, and people are telling me that my argument is trash.
Oh, that's Jonathan James. I like
And
you, Jonathan.
and I'm sorry to interrupt, but
We all have different opinions.
we all have different opinions, but there's a thing that I need to say, and that is, sir, have you paid and have you put your fucking balls on the table to go out and make it in the tune of 100K? Because if you haven't, then you don't know. And you're sitting there as a consumer saying, well, why should I do it? Because there are people out there that are risking large quantities of livelihood to be able to try to advance the firearms industry. And if for someone who has not gone there to say that, why would I buy a Lexus or why would I buy a Toyota with a Lexus badge, doesn't understand that the bottom barrel AR that everybody has become accustomed to, which is a fantastic thing, is artificially undercut the market so that innovation can't really happen, because no new companies can get in, because unless you have an exceptional fortune, you can't afford it. We have a saying in the gun industry, and it's like, how do I make a fortune in guns? You start with two, because you're going to lose one of them. Because
Right.
it's a crime of passion. You literally have to want it and do it, and you're going to lose so much money doing it.
Yeah.
Because
Like I would.
there's no money in guns. There's
Now that
even
I've been
less
shooting,
money in ammunition.
yeah, now that I've been shooting for some time, like I built my own AR. It was cool. It was a learning process. I'm glad I did it. It was fun. But could I do it as well as a Daniel Defense, or no? And plus, I like the peace of mind of having a warranty. If something goes wrong, I can always send it back.
Yeah,
So
there's value in that. Don't get me wrong. The problem I have is when companies like Vortex, for instance, shove the warranty in your face. And the camera's up here. When the first thing they lead with is shove the warranty in your face, that's a product that you should be wary of. When a company, when their leading thing is our warranty is great, then
High
you should.
Point has an exceptional warranty.
Um, Being from Ohio and knowing all the reps from High Point, I have 3 High Points, all of which have over 10,000 rounds on them, and I have never cleaned them.
That would be cool, man. I'd like to get like a 45 and just really dog it out just for
Okay,
shits and giggles.
now here's the thing I'll say about that. My 45 sample, my carbine 45 sample, doesn't.
They have a 10 mm now.
Yeah, I want one.
I want one. I think
Yeah,
that'd
I
be
want
pretty
one.
cool. I love 10 mil. That's my round,
And
man.
I guess I'm just too proud to pay for it.
I think it's like $500.
Yeah, I should probably buy it, but the problem is 10 millimeter ammunition.
Yeah.
That's the problem, because it's like this. Okay, so we have a Ritchie Brothers, and for anybody who isn't into that sort of stuff, Ritchie Brothers is an auction chain.
Yeah, there's
They're
one down here.
Yeah, they put
Huge.
on huge, ridiculous auctions, and so every single time they have an auction in West Jefferson, Ohio, my dad and I get on there and be like, "What good shit are they doing today? What are we with?" And so they've got lathes and mills and stuff like that. They go for like $250 fucking dollars, and you're just like, "Oh my gosh, this is a state of the art mill. Why would I?" Because you need 3-phase to run it, and we don't
Yeah.
have 3-phase at the farm. So we're like, dude, we should get 3-phase. And we're like, no, we don't want 3-phase. Because then we're gonna get 3-phase. And then we're gonna have to buy all the toys to go with 3-phase. And then we're gonna have to pay the bill for a 3-phase. So what a lot of people don't realize, when you start playing that game, it costs you $60K to get 3-phase hooked up.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
That's
I've looked
crazy.
into it. Yeah. Okay. There's a channel called This Old Tony, and he runs a machine shop, right? And on one of his videos, he flashed up his energy bill. How much do you think his energy bill was?
Probably like $3,000 a month. No way.
Keep going. 1 month. 1 month.
5, 10. No, I don't want to know then.
$275,000.
That's retarded.
And his electric bill. Think
No,
about
that can't
that.
be right. That
No,
can't be right.
no. I'm gonna find the video and I'm gonna send it to you. I'm
That's
not gonna do it right
ridiculous.
now, but I'm gonna send it to you.
Yeah, I'd like to check that out. So
That's a full
moving
machine
on.
shop, though. That's a full machine shop, though. Right.
Yeah. So moving
That's the
on.
amount of
Let's
that's
talk
the kind of
about.
money that we're talking about for people who machine their own stuff.
Yeah.
That's why so many companies that make like gun parts also make other things for other industries.
You know, it's
Because
funny. I have a friend of mine who does CAD drawings and machine, and he's like a genius. And I always tell him, why don't you just start building your own guns? And he's like, oh man, just the cost to get into it is nuts. It's too
no,
much.
it's ridiculous. What a lot of people don't realize is like, so we talk about, let's just take the AR for a second. We're talking about a piece of forged aluminum that is then machined down to a particular shape, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's got like, if you look at some of the high-end manufacturers, they're doing it in like 6 ops, 7 ops, something like that. But usually it's about 15 ops.
I don't know what that means.
That means operations on the machine. You put it into a machine and you push the button, and then it does the thing, and then you move it and change it to a different orientation.
So
It
it's
runs a
like
different.
50 steps.
Yeah, but like, for instance, you put the lower and it's bolted to a spline, right? And there's 100 of its friends right there with it, right? You push the button and it's going to do everything that it can attack from this direction, right?
Right.
Right. And that's an op. That's what the program has done. And then you're going to change its orientation, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to flip it, instead of having it like this, you're going to flip it on its side, and then you're going to do a whole bunch of shit to it, right? But depending on your machine, that machine may not be able to hog out, for instance, the magwell. It may only be able to do the threading of the thing. So you got to change it to a different machine to be able to hog out this stuff and do this milling, right? And then you put it in a different machine to be able to do the threading. And then over there, you got the barrel maker. And the coolest machine that I've ever seen is the firing pin manufacturing machine, right? It's like a retrofitted fucking lathe that just like turns down firing pins, and it's like spitting a firing pin out like every like 50 seconds, right?
Oh,
It's
that'd be
just,
pretty cool.
yeah, it's fucking cool. It's fantastic. But anyway, but it's a different rate because that's working in stainless steel, or tool steel versus somebody who's working in aluminum, right? So the machines that's running the lowers, they're just running like crazy. The machines that are running firing pins and steel parts, they take a lot longer, and they break a lot more. So like there's a whole bunch of other things that go along with that whole process that, in addition to all the stuff that we talked about earlier, that it's just a fucking gargantuan amount of money
Right.
to get anything done.
So Fluffy in the chat says RK has the 10 millimeter high points, $400. Oh, dude, I'd buy one tomorrow.
Yeah, dude, can I delete this? No, I can't, because I'm gonna stare at that and be like, oh, I'm gonna buy one.
All right, I'll change it. $400. Come on.
No, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna do this right on live right now. Right? Right? I'm doing it right now.
Gun broker.
Nope. My rep from High Point.
No. Ask for 2. I want one. I talked to a really nice girl at SHOT Show. She was really sweet.
Can I has a 10 millimeter? Question mark. I'm gonna turn my ringer on. I'm gonna turn my ringer on.
So I think the 2022 is going to be the year of the AK resurgence because
I don't believe so.
I I see it everywhere.
Nope.
I know a lot of people that don't even like
I think
AKs.
there's a lot of people. I think there's a lot of companies trying to do AKs.
No, I think
I
a
have
lot.
an
I think it's
affinity.
when I say resurgence, I think it's people getting into it. Like I actually watched your Vesca review before I met you or I was a subscriber or anything, and I'm like, who is this guy spending all this fucking money in ammo? He must be rich because I don't know.
Literally, I got that ammunition. I called Mike Plouffe from Guns and Gear, Mr. Guns and Gear. I'm like, hey, bro, do you have a discount code at any ammo companies? And he's like, yeah, I got one right here. He sent me a discount code, and I bought all the ammunition for that series on his discount code.
But that
Is that
was before the big price hikes, right?
it was? Yeah.
Lucky. So
So
I have a
now,
second generation
what I
Vesca.
didn't tell you is that we shot 5,000 rounds in that review, right?
Mhm.
We shot 5,000 rounds in that series. I bought 15.
Oh man, what a good investment.
Whenever you buy, and that's the thing I'm going to tell everybody everybody who's watching. When you buy ammunition, buy it 3 times. If you can't afford to buy it 3 times, then don't buy it.
Yeah. So real quick, reason why I don't have a huge stockpile anymore is because right when COVID hit,
He he says sure.
you dog. So when COVID
I'll send
hit,
you a copy of my FFL tomorrow.
so when COVID hit, I'm in sales, and so I was at a big luncheon. I was at the Houston Rodeo, and I was talking to another company. We want to hire you on the spot. Quit your job. I'll hire you tomorrow. Come in and fill out paperwork. So I got on my phone, quit my job. COVID hit the city. They shut everything down. He called me the next day, rescinded the offer, but I had already quit my job. So for that 11 months of 20, all of 2020, I had to sell like every single gun I had, all my ammo, everything, magazines. I mean, everything. So there went all of my supplies.
Do you guys
But I
have
used,
10 millimeter loadings available?
what's a
Question mark.
loading?
My ammo supplier. It's so the thing about ammunition. Don't lose your space in your story.
No, I'm done.
Um,
My guys, everyone in the chat's heard my
the
sob
thing,
story a million times.
the problem with ammunition is it's not available to anyone. So they either have it or they don't. So a lot of people don't realize that what happened wasn't just Mutt and Jeff and Cletus buying a couple extra cases of ammunition when the whole pandemic thing happened. No, it wasn't just our normal people that were buying ammunition. The gun industry expanded by 40% by the most liberal estimates. 30 to 40% expansion when COVID hit. And
Yeah.
what happened was a whole bunch of people realized that people were willing to beat their ass over toilet paper in the fucking grocery store. They might be willing to come to their house and do some other shit. So they started buying guns and ammo. So
No, I mean, yeah.
people who historically did not buy guns and did not buy ammo now bought shit tons of guns and ammo. So it's not just people like you and me that are stacking it back. We now have an expansion of the market. Literally in 2 months' time, you almost doubled the market.
Yeah. I'll throw you an extra one in there. I know a lot of casual shooters that would buy ammo on the way to the range
No,
that would not stockpile it. I know a
no,
lot of people like that. And I
no.
had a buddy of mine, he called me and he goes, "Hey man, guess what I just bought off Gunbroker?" I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Man, I bought like 5,000 rounds of 5.56." This is when it was really starting to hit. I go, "How much did you pay?" I paid like $2,000. I'm like, "Wow, did you get ripped off?" He goes, I got more money than time. There was a lot of casual shooters that don't stock. You'd be surprised how many gun people that don't stock up. now are stocking up. There was a lot, and they all saw the
I'll be
panic.
honest. I do have an ammo problem. I literally do not have enough space to stack it.
You should do an ammo fort Instagram photo. I would love to see it. It's been so long since I've seen a good ammo fort.
The only problem with the ammo fort is that, like, to be honest, I
Mine
don't
would
have
be
room in the shop
mine
to
would be an
stack it
anthill.
to
Mine would be an
stack it on the floor. It's on shelving units, so it's stacked vertically, right? Really high quality welded metal shelving units that I got in another deal somewhere else. I don't have enough room to make a fort, and I can't do it outside because the rain, like you guys can probably hear it. It's raining sideways outside right now in the state of Ohio. Like, it is nasty as fuck here right now. Like, I hate February. It's
Well, how about
either
you do a 9mm ammo fort?
I could do a 9mm ammo fort.
That'd be pretty cool.
It would stop a 9mm ammo fort would easily, with what I have, I could easily stop an entire magazine of 50 caliber ammunition.
I could stop
By
most.
magazine, I mean a ready can.
My 9mm would probably stop most BB guns.
Yeah, and that is provided that I'm allowed to use both the 115, the 124, and the 147 and the 165. Yeah, 165 grain. Yeah.
Man. So I thought I was hardcore. I thought I was hardcore before I lost my job and had to sell everything. I had 10,009, 6,045,
So
20,556. Another, I didn't even have a 62x39, but I had 10,000, and I thought that was hardcore.
okay, so
Now I don't have any ammo. I do these gun reviews. I just chew it up.
This is not me pressing my chest out. This is not me trying to be like, I'm cool, I do it. No.
No, I just want to. I want to see a really cool ammo for it.
This is what it takes. The number I'm about to give you is what it takes, in my opinion, to professionally test guns. Last year, in the worst ammunition crisis that we have, I shot 120,000 rounds of ammunition. Documented.
Well, that's it for the show, guys. Good night, folks. Dang.
The previous year, I shot 140, so I cut back a little bit.
Last year, I shot
every single gun. When you see a video from me, every single gun gets between 1,500 and 2,000 rounds through it before I publish a video. It takes me between 80 and 120 hours to produce that video.
Dang. That's a lot.
It's a lot. It is, but
well, that first generation Vesca got trashed.
The reason it takes that is because I can't be wrong. Because if I'm wrong, then somebody purchased that rifle or that pistol, and the idea that was going to be a life-saving piece of equipment. And if I'm wrong, then their life is forfeit.
Yeah, it's a little bit of pressure.
That keeps me from fucking sleeping. That keeps me from sleeping on a weekly basis. I can't be fucking wrong.
100%. Randy Adams in the chat said, it makes me sad you sold everything. It made me sad too. Urban Ninja says 10K a month. That is
so okay. Somebody says, Jonathan James says, this rich guy, 100K rounds. That's a business expense.
I know. I need to start getting my.
So for you to understand that means I purchased it, and then that went in my expense report to the United States government at the end of the year. So you had to have the money to begin with to buy it. and I've been very fortunate to have the help of Fiocchi of America. I standardized on Fiocchi of America ammunition probably 5 or 6 years ago because I was shooting a whole bunch of random bullshit, and
I
I was
like their
having
ammo. I shoot their stuff too
uh,
when I can find it.
the problem I had was that I was getting inconsistent results by using. I'm a scientist. I think I prefaced the whole live show today with the fact that I'm a classically trained chemist. I have a degree in biological sciences and chemistry. I worked as a chemist for 6 years out of college before I said, "Fuck this! It's full of liberals. I'm out." Um, I wish for the days when chemistry was about alchemy and weapons. Okay, when we were making nuclear weapons and when we were trying to turn things into gold, right? Like when we were trying to increase riches and make dangerous things. That's when chemistry had its heyday. Now it's just full of a bunch of fucking activists, and I can't fucking be there. So I made an exit as a classically trained scientist to be able to do. Um, I think that point's going to be lost. To be honest, I don't think that's going to be really value added to say that.
Oh
Um,
man, come on, let's go for it, baby. Go for gold. Or do it like a what's that movie? Princess Bride. Let's sum up a little less a half an hour.
so there's a robustness that has to be built into everything that we do and everything that I do, right? I can't just put out a piece of sugar to be like, hey, this is the new hotness. I have to give you some information about its performance. Like that's my brand. That's what I've gone after. I can't just show you that it looks cool and it's pretty and stuff like that. No, I have to actually go out and shoot the piss out of it. And to be completely honest, the reason that I set the 1,500 to 2,000 round mark is because that's the level at which the gun will start to malfunction, and I don't want to clean it. So that's when I send it back to the manufacturer.
Well, you know what's funny? I know a lot of people, and I'm sure you know a ton of people that buy guns, put them in the safe, never shoot them, or they have an AR, they gear it out, they shoot it maybe twice. I bet you so many people have ARs that have never had 300 rounds through it sitting in their safe. They zero in a scope, a red dot, and then call it a day, and it just sits there.
So some years ago, I was walking through Rural King of all places, and I saw a Ruger 1022 that I was like, you know what? That's a really good price. It was like $189 at the time.
That's a
You
good
know,
deal.
it was really, really good. I was like, I'll take that one. I had no intentions of buying a gun when I was there. Last week, I found that firearm in my vault. It was stacked under some other stuff, right? And the receipt had faded. I had taped the receipt to the front of it, and the receipt had faded to the point where you couldn't read it anymore. It was just a blank piece of fucking paper,
Oh
right?
man. Everyone in the chat, really quick, push the thumbs up. And if you're not a subscriber to VSO Gun Channel, there is a link in the chat. Please subscribe to his channel.
Thanks,
And if you're
guys.
not a subscriber of mine, it's free. Subscribe. You can always unsubscribe. I'd appreciate
Um,
it.
Other than that sort of crap, um, almost every gun that I have in my possession was something that, and you know how this kind of works. To lay this out, you go to do go to work with a company, and they send you a demo,
Mm.
and you go out and you beat the living piss out of it, and then you're like, hey, I either really like this or it's not really worth my time to keep it. And sometimes they'll give you a really heavily reduced rate on that item,
Yes.
um, because you got to think about it. They could reuse it, and in some cases they could reuse it. They could send it out for another demo. Um, in my case, they usually can, um, which is a side story I'll get to here in a second. But So it's in their best interest to off that gun to you. So they'll just give it to you at cost. So a lot of the pieces that I've picked up over the years are things that have come in. I've shot the piss out of them, and I'm like, hey, you know, this thing's actually halfway decent. I'll keep it. You know, stuff like that. The only difference there is a lot of the times I prefer to send the project back to them and then them resend it to me, because the idea is I just shot 2,000 rounds of ammunition through this gun. I want your engineers to take it and do a once over and
Yeah.
see what's broken, what's not broken, what's on its way out, all that sort of stuff. Because I don't clean guns, I don't lube guns, I shoot them almost, if it's capable, I shoot them suppressed. If it will attach to a full auto thing, I'll shoot it full auto to speed my experience with it. Like that gun, when it, I don't use gun bags. Like the only reason I use a gun case is I'm an all groceries in one trip kind of guy. So if I'm taking 12 guns to the range, I'm going to take 2 gun cases so that I can make trips. Other than that, I'm going to yeet it in the back of my truck and I'm going to go to Wendy's on my way to the range. Right? It's going to get
Yeah.
fucking bounced around the back of the. I have a friend that works at the Wendy's and he's like, dude, you got some new shit in this week. I'm like, yeah, man. Like, I take the really pretty pictures right when it shows up, and then it gets thrown in the back of my truck and gets bounced around down the dirt road.
Yeah. I don't believe in safe queens.
Nope, doesn't exist.
If a gun gets a nick
That's not
in
my
it, it
job.
doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah, it's not my job. I'm literally so. I did a video once where I had a post sample machine gun, you know, unobtainium, basically, and I literally threw it in the gravel. And the internet did a collective like, because to get a transferable machine gun, you know, that's an AR is like 20K or something like that. But a transferable, you need the license and you know all that sort of stuff to get it done. But basically, that gun is worthless. When I'm done with it, I have to destroy it. Basically.
Hey, it's your show, real quick. I gotta go do something real quick.
Okay. Yeah, he's got to go either take a piss or jack off or something. I don't know. So we're going to go to the chat here real quick and see what's going on here. We're going to start at the very bottom. I'm trying, guys. Somebody say something that's interesting. Ask a question. Somebody says, I'm in southeastern Ohio. Wayne Maley. I'm also in southeastern Ohio. I live in Bethesda. It's right off I-70.
I had to say goodnight to the kiddos.
Oh, okay. We speculated. We really quickly speculated that you were either whacking off or you needed to take a piss. Or
that's in about 15 minutes. No, after this, I have to finish about a 3-hour report and then pack.
What's your report for?
For work.
Oh, okay. Oh.
So when I do all these sales calls over a period of a few weeks, I pile them all together and I have to enter them in Salesforce, which is so much fun.
So somebody, Jonathan James, which I am
He's detecting.
I am detecting that he is your comic relief.
He's a good dude.
No, I appreciate this. At first, I thought he was that he was a troll, but he's actually part of the show. I believe.
No. I really don't have. You know, honestly, I don't think I've ever blocked somebody. I don't think I've ever blocked somebody from my chat.
I think you should make him a moderator because he's got my sense of humor. He says this dude sells. The dude at Wendy's sells him his weed. So here's the thing.
You buy more.
Here's the thing. So to hold a federal firearms license, you basically relinquish your Fourth Amendment rights. Okay. So the ATF has the right of entry into my premises. It's written that exact way. So they can show up here right now and be like, hey, we want to check your shit. Right? If I get a pile of blow in the middle of my counter, that's a problem. So I actually had to keep my shit really, really clean. So I can't have any of that sort of stuff here.
So he keeps it in the car.
No, that's not okay either. They'll literally break the window in your car.
It's in the mailbox. It's somewhere.
They'll do that too. Come on, dude. They shoot fucking people's dogs and burn down fucking compounds with children and women in it.
Oh man, horrible stuff.
Was
Especially when
that
you
too
shoot them in the
spicy?
back.
I'm sorry.
No, 'cause that's a whole rabbit hole we can go down too. But just going back to, I think I know a lot of shooters are getting into AKs right now, and I think AKs are going to be the new hot gun. Like when at SHOT Show, I stopped by the Kalashnikov booth
I
and
do
I was
like the Soviet
memorized.
Kalashnikov. As somebody who is, I consider myself a Soviet weapons junkie. No, don't get me wrong. Right here, and I can't show it because we're on live show. Right here, I have a post sample machine gun that is my like home defense gun. Okay, so like somebody rolls in here and they trip one of the like 5 or 6 lasers that runs across my driveway yard type situation. Um, yeah, coupled magazine, stack of magazines right there, other stack of magazines in the next room. Good luck. All right, have a good time. Um, it's an AR. I'm gonna reach for that, but when I enjoy shooting, it's a Kalashnikov
Yeah, the
pattern gun.
Zastava booth too had some really cool stuff.
I really so it's funny because like the Zastavas are a what's considered a Yugoslavian pattern firearm, and they don't have really much compatibility at all with a lot of what we consider traditional AKs, which is the AKM. And uh, I could nerd all over you on this, but they are some of my favorite guns. One of my personally owned short barrel rifles is actually an NPAP that I sent to Ackless to do a custom like Cerakote polish job on, and it's a 5.56 short barrel AK. I took an M85 and 5.56 and converted it to a short barrel rifle. I took
That's what I
the
want. I want
no,
a 5.56 AK.
it's so good. I love it. It's one of my favorite guns to shoot, but I just don't shoot it very often because I just don't have fucking time. Um, that's the other side of it is like because I do this for a living, like recreational shooting is something I do very rarely.
That's kind of a bummer, man.
It is a little bit of a bummer, but like you can't really see it on on this video. But if you look at I was looking at this earlier today. If you look at the most recent thumbnail that I did for my video on, I've got 5 wrinkles under my eye. Yeah, just because I don't. That's what I do. This is what I do for a living. I work till 1, 2 in the morning. When I get off the stream, I'm gonna edit.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, that's what's gonna happen.
Well, I don't know if I can edit. I don't have the time.
Well, I will edit. I'll probably edit for an hour, and then I have one more episode of Ozark to watch.
I'm watching what is that stupid show right now? God, it's so dumb.
If any of you motherfuckers spoil the last episode of season 4, part 1 of Ozark, I will fucking find you.
Well, now that you said that,
motherfucker.
we
work together. We work in the same space. I will literally beat your ass in the middle of SHOT Show next year because I'm not going to any more trade shows this year.
Jason says smashes and enter new opportunities. You are right. I have to do my funnel, new opportunities, sales calls. I don't. Man.
So there was another topic that you were gonna interject in, and I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, man. I just told you I think AK is going to be the new.
Yeah, you see, the thing about the AKs is they're prohibitively expensive to manufacture.
Real ones.
Real ones.
Because the Vesca got a lot of hate. And I have the 2nd generation, and I took it to an AK event. It was not well received.
So here's the thing. The Visca had a lot of problems in its initial release. It had some problems. But I have not tested it, so I cannot say. but the Gen 1 that I received passed our test. It passed our 5,000 round test. I don't know that it would have passed a 10,000 round test.
I put 1,000 through mine. I have the Gen 2 Vesca. Seems to be okay. But everyone's
here's
like,
the
oh, any
thing.
minute it's going to blow up in your face. I'm like,
It's
oh,
prohibitively expensive. It's prohibitively expensive to do that kind of testing. Okay. Like, I'll do it. Like, if Sentry called me right now and said, hey, we want you to do another 5,000 round test on the Visca Gen 2, then we would do it. But I don't see that happening because it would be prohibitively expensive to do so. There are only a few companies that I literally, my door is closed to. And we've talked about them at length previously. Anybody can call me at any point in time and say, hey, this is what I want to do. This is what we're trying to figure out. We think that you're the person to do it. I'm like, okay, we can put it on the schedule. That's not a problem. As long as they're a company that has 2A principles and are doing the right things in the market and they're trying their best, I'm not going to give them a hard time. I'm going to do my best to try to advance their product. That's my end goal, is for that client to feel the best version of their product possible. So I don't really get into the game of bashing the shit out of companies for views, except for the snake oil sales series that we touched on earlier. Then most of those are Chinese companies that are trying to send bullshit to the United States.
Oh my God, I get so many emails from Chinese companies, bro.
It is ridiculous, right? So instead of saying no, fuck you, I just send them the PO box.
Yeah. So one last question, because I know we got to wrap it up and get the evil eye from the wife.
Okay.
But
is your wife hot? No,
you met her.
I've met her.
She's on the hot crazy scale. She's pretty close to being great. Well, shit, man. If she watches my live, I'm gonna get in a lot of trouble.
No, remember, if you go to this, the baseline is a 4. Right.
She's like around a 5.
Right. You're in. So that means that. Well, I'm not gonna say that on live. I'm not gonna do that to you. All right. Like if you do the. Right. So that means if she's a 5, then
she's
to meet life zone. Then that means she's really fucking hot.
I think she is. I love my wife. Everyone. So here's a funny story. I got a job at her same place. They had an opening for a salesman. I took the job. None of the other territory managers knew I was the husband, and she was the IT. So I'm sitting my first week. I'm sitting in this group of 30 guys. She walks in to set up the projector, walks out. Every single dude there is checking out her ass and talking, just talking shit. And they're like, oh, man, this guy Clay was like, dang, she's looking good today. I go, man, really? What's her name? And they're telling me all this stuff. And I'm sitting there laughing because I think it's hilarious. Because eventually they're all going to find out I'm the husband and be very uncomfortable at the next sales meeting. So I'm just like, oh, man, is she married? Yeah, she's married to some guy, this and that. I'm like, oh, man, it's too bad. Yeah, but she's looking good today. She had just had her hair done. And I was like, yeah, that's why I married her.
Look, I appreciate so when I leave the house, it takes me literally 5 minutes to get ready.
Bro.
Right?
I don't.
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah. Right. It takes me longer to get ready for bed than it does to get ready in the morning. Right. The most heavy time expenditure is making coffee. Okay. So for women that put themselves together and I appreciate this. So when my girlfriend puts on mascara, I'm literally like, wow, what special occasion we got going on here?
My wife doesn't wear any makeup.
Yeah. My girlfriend wears very, very little because she doesn't need it.
Yeah,
doesn't need it. and I appreciate that. But when she does put it on, guys, this is a tip for you out there. When she does put it on, you make a big deal about it. Now she knows that my big thing is matching fingers and toes, and when she goes to do that, I make sure that I say, hey, I noticed this.
You're like, oh man, is it our anniversary? What's going on?
No.
Like, what day is it? Did I miss something? No, I don't like makeup. I don't like it. And my daughter went through a makeup phase where she was wearing colored contacts. My oldest daughter, she's 20, but when she was like 16, she started wearing colored contacts, and I despise that.
So
Look, you're half Vietnamese. Everyone knows you don't have blue eyes. Knock it
so
off.
I'm gonna interject on you really, really quick. All
Uh
right, because
oh.
I think I've got a save for you. All right. So um, for wholesale, like going for like permanency, okay, a candidate for permanency doesn't do that shit. All right. When I want superficial, crazy bullshit like colored contacts and like fangs and metal in their face and
That's a
tattoos,
that's a weekend one night thing.
when I go to the strip club, I usually ask the manager on duty. I'm like, "Do you got any bitches with fangs and
I've,
tattoos
I've
and
never been to a
metal?"
strip club. I don't know what you're talking about.
Like that's what I ask them for, right? Because I want something fucking weird, right?
You got anybody with a limp? Where's
Yeah,
that?
but
Where's that?
no.
Where's that
What
chick in
is
a wheelchair?
what's
She
the,
was
I
hot.
literally my and I'm not
That
gonna
girl in
name
the
any names,
wheelchair,
but
man.
one of
She
my
can
friends had
roll up
a
on me
one
anytime.
of my friends had a bachelor party in Nashville, right? And I was kind of like the master of ceremonies
You have any girls
for
with dentures? Those are really
for this
hot.
thing. And so one of my friends at the time had married the stripper that was on the billboard for the place, and so I called him up and I'm like, hey, can you call your person? I got a group as 10 guys. We're here for a bachelor party, and they're like, no problem, we'll hand you. So I talked to the dude. We'll call the dude on duty Jim. And I told Jim, I was like, we're gonna spend a fuck ton of money here tonight, right? What's the weirdest shit you got? Right, straight off like I haven't been in the building for 30 seconds, right? And they handed us a dude to like corral our people, right? And I'm like, first order of business, I want you to send the weirdest shit that you've got over to our table, right? Handpick it yourself. So then after that, I was kind of like, nah, that was sort of underwhelming. Um, I'm like, look, my buddy's getting married, and I want to put him up on that stage, and I want all your girls to beat the ever living shit out of him, right? For everybody to watch. And like, well, man, here's the thing. Unfortunately, because of Nashville ordinance, we can't have any patrons on the stage with the dancers. I'm like, oh, shit.
Private room.
I'm like, what about the private room? And he's like, that we can do. I'm like, do you have a particular? And he cut me off and gave me the girl's name like immediately. I'm like, send her over, right? So I'm like, we had an interview, like a 15-minute interview, because we're going to spend easily $1,000 on, or more, $1,500 on 30 minutes. And so we needed to make sure that we had the right stuff here, right?
Do you have all the qualifications we're looking for?
Yes, exactly. So we thought that everything was good, and he literally left with black eyes, no underwear because they were torn, and scratches on every surface of his body. And I asked all my boys when we left the private room, because there was literally all the other dances that occurred in the room had stopped, and they had all fixated on the center of the room where we were, right?
Right.
And I asked everybody when they left, I'm like, so you spent somewhere around $280, $300 to do that. To get your money's worth. And they're like, I would spend it again in a heartbeat. That was the best money that I've ever spent in my entire life. And so, how old's your daughter?
20, almost 21. My
20.
oldest. Yeah.
Tell her that that kind of superficial bullshit lands her in the category of people that we're
Hairdressers.
willing to pay for, but we want them to leave afterwards.
Oh yeah. Well, she's matured out of that stage now. Now
Well, that's
she's
good. That's good.
she's
And I'm not trying to be a fucking bigot. Okay. Like, I'm just explaining that there is a cost benefit relationship, right? Go back to the hot, crazy matrix.
yeah. I
Redhead,
mean,
number one. Strippers, number two. All right. That's not on accident. Okay.
oh, speak of the devil, she's in the chat.
So if you're doing a bunch of fake, superficial bullshit to try to sell yourself to the male
Oh
population,
God.
generally speaking, that doesn't work.
I hated those color contacts. Camille, I love you very much, but god dang did I hate those contacts. Oh, it would I think she wore them because she knew it drove me up the wall.
And that's a real thing, right? A teenager, especially a teenager, being like, "Daddy says I can't do this, so I'm gonna fucking do it. I'm gonna do it every fucking day, even if they irritate the shit out. Even if I had to irrigate my eyes like 20 times a day to
Oh,
wear
wait till
these
you
fucking,
have kids, buddy. It's coming.
my sins have earned me a very angry teenage female."
You have no idea.
But what I'm saying, what I'm saying is that, like, as a mature adult male at this point in time, the the difference is that the superficial factors that once enticed me as a 20-year-old,
They're repulsive now.
attractiveness is a composite score.
Oh, 100%.
Attractiveness is a composite score.
I actually
So,
want to talk to girls now.
yeah, if your brain don't work, I don't want you anywhere near me.
I can't stand girls I can't have a conversation with. I think, I mean, when I was 19, 20, 21, I didn't care. It was, oh, are you breathing? Sweet, let's go.
Yeah, you have a pulse.
Well, she's only mostly dead.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, see, look right here. They look good. No, they never looked good. They were horrible. Fake. I can't stand fake anything. I could never stand fake stuff.
No, fake stuff is fine when you're doing a fantastical thing,
But
right?
it's one night stand stuff.
A dude will never form a lasting relationship with you on the fact that you wear cat eye contacts.
Amen.
Right? You filed your teeth down to be fucking sharp. Cool story. You have a fucking divided tongue.
Oh
Cute.
no. What's worse is the earlobe, the big earlobe gap things, the gauges.
Yeah, if I can stick my dick through your ear hole, right?
That's good for a circus act, but you know,
Not long-term
not
material.
that's not coming home to mama.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, hey man, we got to wrap it up. I'm getting the eye, but
Yeah, now you're definitely getting the eye. I think
I really appreciate you coming on, man. This was probably the most educational because I had no idea about the costs that go into manufacturing guns. It was super educational.
And that's speaking strictly from pure experience.
I mean, it was awesome.
To the point where I'm considering not doing that anymore, just because the amount of money.
Do you have a VSO logo on your gun?
Yeah.
I want to buy one before you stop.
I will literally send you one.
That would be cool. I want a VSO because then it'll be a collector's item.
Yeah. Just all I need from you.
The hell out of that thing.
Just all, and please do.
I know I can take it.
Yeah, please do. All I need from you is your FFL information. We'll figure that out. Yep.
Dude, that's awesome, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, and
No problem, man.
this live went by so quick, and it's like almost
Yeah, it
2
did.
hours.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, that's an effect that I have. I'm sorry.
No, that's
Um,
awesome. I still have questions left. That's how good this was.
every single live show that I've ever been on has been that way, and I consider myself an extrovert with introverted tendencies. Um, and I'm sorry for hijacking your show, but
No.
every single show that I've ever been on, I have hijacked. There's only one person I think that could probably corral me, and that's probably Joe Rogan, right?
Or
And that's probably because he's just gonna dope me up MDMA before the
you'll be
show.
so high walking through that door, man.
But no, this is great. I really enjoy being able to just talk to people. And because everything that I do is like, I'm very super anal about everything that I publish, is very, very produced. I really enjoy the live spot on other people's channels because they just get to be me. And I think it becomes very apparent very rapidly for anybody who's watching a live show that I
Yeah.
am that big of a douchebag all the time. It's
No,
not something that you just turn off. And you know this from seeing me at SHOT Show. I'm that jackass all the time. It's not just turned up. It's not, I don't play a character on the internet. I am
yeah.
the character that the internet warned you about.
Yeah,
And
it's
I
funny.
take
People
pride
always
in the fact that I am me. And that's what I continue to do.
Yeah, people ask me, is like, man, your stuff is so relatable because you don't act like you're an expert. I'm like, man, if they only knew. Like, I don't know half of. Look, there. Why don't you go real detailed into these gun reviews? It's because I don't know that much. Do I like it? Does it go bang? You should buy it.
Here's the thing. I
How do
don't
you?
consider myself an expert either, even though that's what I do professionally. I professionally test guns. I get paid to test guns. That makes me, by definition, a professional gun tester. I'm not an expert by any stretch of the imagination. I don't know fucking dick. Right? Hey, it broke. I think you should make it out of steel instead of aluminum. Right? Now, having the background that I have does help. Um, but for the most part, I'm not an engineer. I have some crossover in engineering, but I just know what works and what doesn't. And I
Right.
also simultaneously get to sit here with my pulse on the internet, which is all of you people, and listen to what you're saying. Be like, hey, they don't fucking want that thing. Stop making that thing that way.
Yeah, that's very true.
And because I have that direct line, because I am actively field testing products, I can say, hey, they say you're fucking up. Fix it.
Yeah. The only product that ever hit the market that I despise from the get go is the grip pod.
The grip pod. You
That's
mean
the
the thing
little.
with the button that you push and the thing?
Yeah, I hated that thing
Yeah,
so
that
much.
thing's so. This thing's.
I know
I don't even
someone that uses it and he
look.
loves it.
There's a baseline. There is
Mhm.
a baseline where, like, I'll give almost anybody a chance as long as you meet the baseline. And here's the thing. To be, I said from the beginning that I'm very transparent in how I operate. Like I said, I get paid to test guns. If that thing does not perform well, most of the time you guys will not hear about it because I don't I don't really care to sit here and bash on a company that isn't ready for prime time. I would prefer, instead of getting the superficial temporary bump of making fun of somebody that did the thing that wasn't quite ready, I would
Mhm.
prefer to work with them and say, hey, we need to make these 2 or 3 tweaks to this product so that it can be the best in its category. And then we need to come back 6 months from now after you guys have made those changes and test it again. And when it's
Yeah.
ready for prime time, then we do a thing on it. Because yeah, it can make me really, really fucking popular to just beat your guys' asses on the internet all day. But I would rather you feel the best version of your product possible because that's what really is a positive impact for everybody involved. It's better for
Agreed.
them, it's better for me, and it's better for you if
And
that's
on
what
that,
happens.
folks, we will end it. Thank you so much, Curtis.
2 hours and 44 minutes.
That's how we
Fantastic.
roll. That's how we roll. Well, thank you guys, everyone in the chat, everyone watching this on replay. I'm sure this is going to be great on replay too, because I'm going to advertise the heck out of it. The most educational podcast, well, live stream I've ever done. Thank you guys
Thank
so
you for
much for
having me on.
watching. Hey, appreciate it. Till next time, guys.